Okay, thank you.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I'm all set.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, October 28th of 2025. This is the Stoughton City Council. The first order of business is the roll call. Clerk Kristen.
Okay, Nino.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
Wozniak Scanlon.
Here.
Sherlucky.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Thank you. Tillison.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Butler.
Here.
Schumacher.
Here.
Viano.
Here.
Abel. Okay, we have 11 alders present. We have Alder Abel absent and excused.
All right, thank you. The first order of business then would be the public comment period. Looks like you have a few people signed up to speak. There's basically two different items that they want to speak on. So we'll start with the item number, let's see, for the East Street parking will be the first group, item number 9. And the first person that was signed up was Allison. Is Allison here?
She's at work.
Okay, and the council members did get an email from Allison, so I'm sure that's probably what she wanted to speak to. Jason, is Jason here?
Yes.
Would you like to come up and speak? And then you can just push the button on the microphone at the podium, and when the red light comes on, you get up to 3 minutes. I have flashcards, so if you're running out of time, I'll try to let you know, but I'm fairly generous on time, so whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jason Soderling, 1040 East South Street. My driveway is on East Street. Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm here on behalf of all the residents of our small dead-end street, once again, to ask that no parking restriction be reversed. This issue has gone through multiple meetings, discussions, and frankly, become kind of a waste of time and resources, especially when the facts have been reviewed, confirmed, and approved by the city's own safety committee twice. For decades, our street has safely allowed parking on both sides, though through every snowstorm, every winter, every season change, all of us neighbors have done exactly what's required during snow emergencies or other times. Everyone moves their vehicles, we clear the snow, keep the street open, and we have never had a pattern of violations or safety issues, not once in decades. Now, with the new parking rule, many of us will be left with nowhere to park, especially on snow emergency days. We all have multiple vehicles, multiple drivers. We have a couple new drivers coming up soon. That means more vehicles and no parking. With the no parking on the other roads next to it, that also means they may have to park a block away, which is a very big safety concern, especially for my daughter, who's just going to turn 16, to have to possibly walk after a wrestling practice or after work. To make sure we had the facts, several of us spoke directly with fire personnel, the snowplow driver who services our area, the trash collection service. None of them have ever had any issue navigating our street, even with cars parked on both sides, which is very rare. We've also watched large vehicles, delivery trucks, utility trucks, emergency vehicles come and go without any difficulty at all. This new restriction is not only unnecessary, it's causing new problems. When we first started, there was a couple neighbors that could not get their trash picked up because of cars parked in front of their access. And let's be honest, this entire change started because of a single complaint from someone who doesn't live on our street, never will live on our street, and it was because of one isolated incident during a snowstorm that led to months of debate, paperwork, meetings, all at the expense of residents who actually live here and know how the street functions. Our neighborhood has proven time and again that we are responsible, cooperative, and capable of managing our own street parking safely. The Safety Committee has reviewed this twice, agreed with us twice, and we're continuing to revisit it. Only wastes valuable city resources and time that could be focused on real safety concerns elsewhere. We're just asking in return to what worked perfectly for decades, parking on both sides of the streets, that it just remain that way. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and next I had Tim. You don't want to speak? All right. Anybody else want to speak on this issue? All right, then we'll go.
Be signed up to speak.
Well, I can get your name and address at the podium. That'll suffice.
I'll only be a minute.
Okay, that's fair.
William Morgan, I live at 409 East Street. They are all my neighbors. Every single person that lives on that street, every single person wants parking on both sides. And it's been that way for 100 years, and we haven't had trouble. So I've got, teenage daughter or granddaughter that lives with me. It's just, our driveways are short, and it's really no problem. Whoever complained about it don't even live on the street. And every single person on our street, and most of them are here, that's all I got to say.
All right, thank you. All right. Anybody else on East Street want to speak? Oh, I guess everybody. All right, go ahead. What's your name?
My name's Gary Graper. I live on 401 East Street, and I've been there since 1993, and we've never had an issue. And I agree with Jason and Bill. I mean, on everything that they've said, I can't reiterate that enough on that end. And I'm the last house on the dead end, so I got the crooked guardrail that hardly allows me to even back up. And then when we start parking too many cars on there, I can't even back out of my own driveway. So again, if it becomes restricted, I mean, I'm gonna ask for the dead end to be extended like 6 feet because I can't even back out of my own house on that. And we've never had an issue. I've been there for 32 plus years, and we've never had an incident with any of the neighbors or anything else. So I'm just, I'm kind of dumbfounded by what is going on, and it was just, and again, to show up again, to go through this again, it's kind of frustrating, I mean, on that end. And again, and if this goes, if this is happening on our street, I mean, how many streets is this going to happen in Stoughton? And then, I think other residents need to be notified what is really happening, just so they are up for what is going to go on that. So again, I'm just, I'm kind of bewildered. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think I saw one other person over here that was going to speak.
Yes, my name is Caleb Scott. I live at 425 East Street. My wife Allison submitted a lengthy letter in which she documented a lot of the issues that we have with the parking restrictions. I'm just going to add my voice to the chorus of neighbors here in favor of lifting the restriction. I think it's been made clear at every time that we've argued before the Safety Council, and they were very responsive and made the right call both times. So I would just like to encourage this council to make the same right call and lift the parking restriction.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else on East Street? Okay, the next group was for item number 7, and I had 1 register in support And then I had 2 registered to speak. So I have Dave and Avery. Who would like to go first?
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Dave Melton. I own 435 East Main Street and 480 East Main Street. Don't worry, I'm not going to yell at you. Nice to see everybody speaking. This fella here wasn't signed up. You let him talk. That's the way to do it, right? We need a voice, right? And the voice out here is this, the art district. No one's against art or the business or any of those things. It's just that imposing restrictions on us and limiting us is very, very unpopular. And right now, I'd love to thank all the wonderful community. It's so humbling, all the phone calls, the emails, all the support, the people that are here. God bless you. Thank you. Very unpopular. And it's our city. I own only real estate that I do business in. I don't own a house here. I live in the town of Christiana. But in the town of Christiana, if something is being discussed significantly about your property, you get a notice. So I apologize. I missed the planning commission meetings. I missed all that stuff. And I'm really, really pleased, hoping you can come up with some ideas that maybe limit the restrictions on us, maybe make it possible. So if you want a wealthy foundation to buy the building next to us, fine. If you want us to not have any more real estate, fine. But if there's something you could come up with to allow us to maybe put an addition on the back, and then maybe this 30-year-old plan I've had that's worked, maybe all of a sudden it fails, but that addition won't affect some art business that could buy it and use those. Just allow us to expand the building, something like that. If there's a way to, if you had any ideas to allow that to happen for us and for my sons. We love Stoughton. It's been such, I can't tell you the support. Gee whiz. Thank you for that. If there's any ideas that you have, if we could remove the automotive restrictions, something like that, we'd be eternally grateful, and every plan to be a good neighbor. And I just, I think a new shiny with a modern building and all, I really kind of think the way we do things kind of jives with that whole idea, and art and stuff and cool, that stuff, it's cool, right? And it's really only cool when it's organic. It's not that cool when the city forces it to happen, because, it's a little ironic. We'd be nonconformists in an art district, which is cool, right? Nonconformity's cool. It goes right along, right? I love it. You're laughing, right? Nonconformist in an art district. That'd be me, except I'm selling cars and fixing cars for the people who make art. And the people who come to buy art, and the people who come to look at art, they all come to town in a car, right? So thanks for listening, and please, come up with something, please. Thank you.
All right, Avery, can you follow that?
Pretty hard.
No pressure.
So I am unprepared and not good at public speaking. Here I am. So I'm Avery. Dave's my dad. And I guess I didn't know he was going to do that, so hard to beat that. I guess my whole thing is I like to think we can all just be nice to each other, include everybody. Go across the street, check out the art there. Hey, you're our fellow business owner. We're on a team here together, even though we do different things. I don't see a purpose in adding any kind of restrictions or pressure on things that are already there. Why can't we just let us do our thing? They get to do their things. Everything gets updated, and we're just not, automotive is just not prohibited. Why don't we just, I think that's what I would like to see. Like my dad said, I think everything's really cool. I mean, the entertainment side too, not just the arts. There's the Opera House up the road. We got Marty Stewart coming to Stoughton. That's pretty cool. I like Marty Stewart. I don't know if anybody else does. But yeah, there's a lot of cool, this is a cool thing. I just don't think it's cool to add pressure onto a business that's already been there, and I would say a popular one. I guess that'd be up for everybody else to decide, but yeah, I take pride in the way we do things is important to me. We're honest, we do as good a work as we can, and I'd like to keep doing that, even when my dad's gone, and it's me and my brother. He's got time. He's healthy. He's good. He's good. I still can't outcompete him, so I work with him, and yeah, I can't keep up with the old guy. So, yeah. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, and me and my brother, we like it here. We want to stay here, and I also want to say thank you to you guys, because emails, and you guys are probably like, oh, please stop. But anyways, yeah, thank you to all of you guys, and I've been able to talk to some of you, and I'm completely uneducated on this type of thing, so it was nice to have people teaching me, and this is something important as a business owner to learn. I'm in school for business right now, and this is something I haven't learned from school, so it's cool to have this, and yeah, it's been great that you guys have been able to talk back and forth with us, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Just need a name and address for the clerk. I don't want the clerk looking me up tomorrow and yelling at me.
It's Dennis Ely, 3421 County Road A, Stoughton. I'm a customer of Dave's, and I have a older vehicle that needs repair, and it's an art to repair an older vehicle also. And when I've been driven by there on a Sunday and I see Dave out painting the building so it looks nice, it's not an eyesore. The buildings are painted up nice, they look nice. Sure, you got a few cars sitting around, but that's kind of the nature of the business. But just as far as conforming, I'm getting stumbled up here. So I just wanted to say that he keeps the properties looking good to fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Last call. All right, thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate it. We'll move on to our next item, which is introduction of historical fact of Stoughton.
Okay, I gotta change hat, or put on a hat for once. It'll make sense in a minute.
Props.
Yeah. All right, in preparation for Halloween, I went in and did some research on haunted places in Stoughton. So there really is a file about this, and if anybody knows anything, any of the other ones aside from what I have, I'm interested to know about it so we can add them into that file. So I'm just going to list them off, and then what people have seen or thought they saw in them. So the Grand Hotel, everybody can figure this one out. 421 East Main Street. There's the young girl that's in the basement, and the woman on the second floor. So those are reported things from that building. Another one is 401 West South Street, the Overin House. That one didn't have any activities listed on there, but if anybody knows anything about that property, can add some notes in on that one. Next is the Martin Trulson House, 524 South Page Street. That one has had lights unexplained on and off, and a man in a top hat, so hence the top hat. The old address of that property was 312 South Page Street, and there had been a graveyard on that site prior. And Dr. Trulson had died in the house also. Another is 332 Oak Street. This one is just listed as the Subi Home Lions. That's all I had on that one. So if anybody knows anything more about that one. Another property, 934 County Road N. That didn't have anything else listed for it. the Dyerson Bridge in the town of Dunn. If anybody's driven over that one is supposed to have phantom black cars, hearing screams, and ghostly women walking on the bridge. Next is 1005 Stoughton Avenue. This was previously 803. This one that we redeveloped through Habitat. So the house had burned down, but supposedly before that house had burned down, you could hear breaking glass all the time and a girl crying. 504 Jackson Street, that one's had a ghostly figure on the second floor. 433 Oak Street has unusual lights and banging sounds. 118 North Page Street also was, the old address was 305 North Page Street. The E.H. Gerard House, that had banging for several days in a row at the same time during the day, that the police were called several times to investigate it. Maybe long ago, Chief. Could have been long ago.
Thank you for clarifying.
Right, long ago. Another is 125 North Franklin Street. That one had unexplained cigarette smoke smells in it when no one smoked in the home. Voices were heard telling them to get out of the house. And then it said it smelled perfumey thereafter, so. And the last one is 111 South 5th Street. This is the Jens and Ingeborg Cold House. So this is an 1858 house, so a long time for things to happen. There were footsteps heard upstairs going from room to room, people being touched by invisible things, and figures walking up and down the stairs. In the basement, during a renovation, they had uncovered a basement well with animal bones in it. So those are all the Halloween things I've got for this time.
They were animal bones?
Animal bones, yep.
Right, you forgot the Opera House.
I don't know the stories of what do you have for the Opera House?
In the Opera House, in the evenings, I used to work, I was in the first office up the stairs on the right-hand side. And I was working one night in there by myself, and I could hear the crowd coming down, so I assumed there was a show. There wasn't. And then Christina, who used to work there, when she was pregnant, would always see a child on the stage, but only when she was pregnant.
Interesting.
So add that to your list.
All right. Now, if anybody else out in the audience, if you know people that have had experiences in houses that they think might be haunted, let's get them archived and get them into this file.
Right, have you contacted the current people in there? Are they still seeing ghosts?
It would be a good follow-up, I think.
All right. Shannon, can you follow that?
Probably not.
No, I know. Hopefully your budget's not as
I
scary.
don't have as fun topics to share,
All
unfortunately.
right, is this, let me get where you want to be here. Is this where you want to be?
No, let's keep scrolling. We'll just go to the
Tell me
presentation. So as a reminder, we are presenting the 26 budget here for Stoughton Utilities. Tonight, you will adopt it officially. Next meeting on the 11th when you do your city budget. But I'll go over the highlights if you want to go. Maybe a couple more, Mayor. There we go. So I know you have a big agenda tonight, so I will try and move through this quickly. If you have any questions, just stop me, and I'll be happy to answer them. So if you want to move on. So putting this budget together, I wanted to go over the assumptions that were put into place here to put this together. I did include a slight increase for all utilities. This is different than what I've done in the past. We have seen slight growth in '24 and estimated growth in '25. So I did go ahead for all three utilities and put a 0.5% usage increase for all three of them, just because we've been seeing it consistently over the last couple of years here. The expenses were put together based on prior trends over the last 3 years. Where more information was known, such as health insurance, I went ahead and made that adjustment, but that's how we put together the expenses for all 3 utilities, just based on what our prior needs have been. Capital projects continue to have an aggressive replacement plan for water and sewer. You'll see that in the coming slides, but that continues to be the case and will in the future. Put together for rate of returns, assuming a 6.2 and a 6.3% for electric and water, which is what we've seen in our prior rate cases. With our building, I did keep with the estimate of $22 million. We have that scheduled for 27. Again, that estimate only comes from a local utility who is currently building a building, and that was the cost of their building. Meeting with the architect, they have indicated they think we'll be just fine with that number, hoping to come in lower than that, but that's the figure that I've put together for the debt issuances and all of the utilities. Staffing, there are 2 staffing additions in 26 in this budget. One is the administrative assistant, which you approved a few months ago. And then we also have a systems automation coordinator that's also built in. That position is going to be heavily funded by the electric utility because it will do more electric work. The administrative assistant is spread out evenly among, or I should say, our typical split among all 3 utilities. Wages, as you recall, utilities wages are based off of market rate. That information is not yet known. So for budgeting purposes, I went ahead and used a 3.5 increase estimate. That doesn't mean every employee is going to get a 3.5% increase. That's just a figure I used for estimation purposes. So that's what's built in here. Just a quick highlight overview. This is all 3 utilities combined in 26. The bottom 2 rows there, the operating income and rate of return are where your eyes are drawn. Electric in 26, we're estimating 4.63. We're authorized at 6.2. We are going in for a rate case in 26 for the electric, so that rate of return is based off a half of year of that increase. And then in water, we just had the rate increase here in 25. Seeing a full year of that in 26 should put us about 5.83 is my estimate there, so close to what we're authorized at. The next slide is another overview, but a couple things I wanted to point out. You'll see the wages line item there in the breakout. It says 12.1% increase in wages. That is because of those 2 positions that are added. That is cumulative over all 3 of the utilities. It will affect each utility differently, but that's the overall effect in 26 for looking at all 3 of them. And then capital projects goes up significantly in 26 from 25. That's because we're adding in, I think we had in 25, we had like 2 water sewer main replacements. We're going to have 5 in 26. So that adds to that cost significantly. That's why you see such a large jump there from 25 estimated. Moving on to looking just at electric. As I said, we are anticipating an electric rate increase in 26. I'm estimating that's going to be about 7% revenue requirement overall. The exact amount won't be known until it goes through the Public Service Commission and the rate case process, but the estimate that I have is the 7. How that affects each category, I just split it evenly. When the PSC does their rate design, it'll affect each customer category differently. For this purpose, this is just showing half a year of an increase among all rate classes. And again, that's showing that 0.5% increase in usage from 25. Electric, the highlights I wanted to point out here, transmission, distribution costs. It shows it's going up 23.1% from 25. That's because we are adding, we're contracting with a company that can do, it's called scan, audit, and assessment of our infrastructure, so we can get current imaging of our infrastructure. So if our crews are working on something, they don't have to go out to the location to see what's currently there. They're not working on old data. So getting that stuff up to date, that's about $70,000, and that's what's driving that line item up there. Looking at capital projects, you see it's going to go up 42.3%. Couple of things I wanted to point out there, that digger derrick that we came to you and asked for a budget amendment for, circling back, we weren't able to secure that unit. It didn't work out for our crews, so I've included that purchase for that truck in '26. Remember, we were hoping to purchase it in '25. We're able to do that, so that is included in there. And then we did add another project from last year, doing some overhead underground work, which is about $300,000. So that's what's driving up the difference between '25 and '26 there. If you want to move on to the outlook, the numbers that we really focus on are in green. I know there's a lot of numbers there because we forecast out 5 years, but looking at '26, our unrestricted cash on hand is estimated to be about 4.82 months, just under 5. Our target is 6 months, so I think we'll be doing fine ending the year in '26, assuming that rate increase goes in July 1st. It should all be good. Pointing out in '27, that's where we're showing that debt issuance again for the new building. Electric's portion of that is $12.1 million. We will plan to borrow for that in '27. So looking to the future there. And then one of the final metrics that we look at in the electric utility is the debt coverage. We are required to have 1.3 months coverage for the debt coverage. We paid off some debt in '23, so that number is very high. It's 16 months. It will drop in '27 when we issue that debt for the building, but even as we look out, for the next 5 years, we'll easily meet that 1.3 requirement. I like to go 2, and we're still easily meeting that as well. Looking to the future. Any questions on electric? Pretty straightforward. Okay, so water. In water, we are showing, it says 11.8%. That is because that 0.5% usage again, and then this is our first full year of the water rate case that we implemented here in '25. So that's why we're seeing the increase in those revenues in '26, because it's the full year of that, of those rates going in. Moving on to the expenses, a couple things I wanted to point out. We do have a water distribution study that we're planning for in '26, which is driving up the administrative and general costs about that 10.5%. And then there again, the capital projects, it shows us going up 89%. That is those water main projects that the difference between '25 and '26. So that's what's driving up those. I think it's $1.1 million or something. Financial outlook for water in '26. We do anticipate borrowing for one of those projects. Doing a safe drinking water loan, it's about $660,000, so I have that built in here. But the cash on hand, we should be able to be just above that 6-month target. So water should end the year fine in a cash position as well. And then the final metric, the debt coverage on the next slide. We're required to have 1.3. Again, my target is 2, and at the end of '26, we'll be just under 3. So we'll be easily meeting that metric as well. So the water utility will be in good shape financially by the end of '26. And then if we look out to the future, I see no concerns with the water utility meeting any of that in the future as well for the next 5 years. Wastewater, save the best for last. Wastewater, again, we have the 0.5% usage increase estimate, and then we also are planning for a 14% rate increase for wastewater in '26, and then continuing again '27, '28, and all the way through the next 5 years. Last year, our estimate for '26 was 20%, and then 20% again in '27. Have gone back and smoothed that out a little bit. So we have that planned, again for the next 5 years, but that is what's built in for '26 for revenues. That increase is estimated to be put into place the first of the year. That's what the budget is based off of. So if there's a little bit of delay, a couple months, it won't skew it a whole lot, but that's what the budget was built with. Expenses for wastewater. We do have the top line there, the plant, the general wastewater maintenance. That's expected to go up roughly 19%. We've got a pump rebuild at the lift station. We've got some televising that we're contracting out, a generator, some storage. We've got a bunch of things planned that are eking up that number there. And then we're also, in '25, we had planned to do a facilities study. We didn't get that completed here in '25. We're pushing that to '26. That's going to be helpful for us because there are some estimates that I have for plant upgrades that are shown outside of this 5-year plan. I think we have like probably $10, $12 million that we're thinking we're going to have to spend outside of this. When we get those numbers, this study back and able to finalize those numbers, it'll help with this 5-year projection as well, so we kind of know exactly where we're going. So for the wastewater, there's a lot of estimates here built in for these rate increases, but once we get that facility study back, we should be able to hone in on those and really kind of fine-tune what our needs are really going to be in the next 5 years. And then again, the capital projects going up 143%, that again is with those sewer main projects that we added. For the outlook, as I said, for the next 5 years, we are estimating 14% increase every single year. That is to fund the capital projects. The debt for the building will have an impact on the rates, but a vast majority of it has to do with our aggressive replacement plan. Because this plan doesn't just stop the next 5 years, it goes out the next 30 years. So that's why we're seeing those consistent increases over the next 5 years. In '27, again, we're showing the debt issuance for the building, and then we also plan to issue about $1 million for some of those sewer main projects as well in '27. All of that put together, we will still meet our debt coverage. In the sewer side, it's 1.1. We'll easily meet my 2-month requirement there for '26 and beyond with all of that in place. So the big question is, what does this do to our rates? So this is, I will preface this and say, this is all estimate. We won't really know until we have some of those things fleshed out and some of this stuff goes before the Public Service Commission. So these rate comparisons that I've got built here in the future slides are simply for estimating purposes. But this is an actual comparison that WPPI did. We are in green. I know these numbers are small, but we are at like $95.23 for our average residential customer a month. The next closest is $117.91 a month. So even with our projected rate increases on the electric side over the next 5 years, we're still going to be $10 lower than the next electric utility right now. So our customers are still getting a really good rate for their electric service, even with all of the increases that we anticipate. Moving on to the water comparison, this is all of the, I'm sorry, it's small, it came off the PSC's website, but this is all of the water utilities in Dane County. The top orange line is where we are right now. The second orange line is where we're going to go, where we anticipate we'll be in '29. The lowest being at the top, the highest being at the bottom. This, of course, assumes that no other utilities will go in for rates. But even if that were the case, we would still, I would say, have competitive rates because those rates that are around us were all really close in cost. So that's the water. Wastewater, this is utilities that are within 15 miles of us. We are currently the far left one. We had a number of surrounding communities that went in for rate cases in '25. I think it's '27. If no one else goes in for rate cases, we'll bump up a little bit, but we still won't be the most expensive. So our customers will still be getting a really good rate here in the city of Stoughton for their electric, water, and sewer if this all comes to fruition. If we move forward, so again, these are all estimates. But this would be, if we look at a cumulative bill impact, electric, water, and sewer, what does that do for our customers? In '26, we're estimating that it will affect their bill a little over $11 a month for the average residential customer for electric, water, and sewer usage. At the end of the 5 years, it does ekes out a little over $50 a month for each customer. Again, that's an estimate. A lot will depend on the information that we can get back from for the building, and then as well as effects for the wastewater plant. But that's for information purposes right now. We do, because of the impacts to our customers, we do try to reach out to them and let them know what's coming, what our estimates are. So this is just a list of everything that Brandy, our education and outreach coordinator, puts together on our website, Facebook, inserts and bills, kind of letting our customers know the direction that we're headed. So just so you know, we wanted to put that in there so you're aware that we are trying to educate our customers and let them know as much as we can. And with that, if you have any questions, be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions from the alders? I know it's a lot of information. I think there was plenty of discussion at the Utilities Committee. We have big initiatives with the DOT project on 51 going through town. I think that added some expense. So I would highlight that one. And unfortunately, some of that work was work that we've done fairly recently, but it's beyond our control.
Right. And we have to, it is in our best interest to go with these projects because we don't know how long our infrastructure is going to last. It might not outlast the street, and then we have to dig up a street that might be 10 years old to replace our infrastructure, and no one wants a patch, right? So we try to follow the DOT projects, the city's road projects, because it's our best time to get in there to get our infrastructure replaced all at once. So that kind of leads it to be more aggressive than.
Yeah, and I think that the upgrades that are needed at the wastewater are pretty substantial as well. They're long overdue. We have an aging plant. So I'm looking forward to see what some of the recommendations will be on that as well.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, any questions? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yep. It's nice to go first, isn't it? Okay, next item is the consent agenda. These are items that we consolidate for efficiency. It's mostly like minutes from previous meetings. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Jensen, a second by Tillison. Would anybody like anything acted on separately from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Okay. Let's see, where are we at here? This one's out of order. We have item number 6 is 6, 7, and 8 are all second readings from the Plan Commission, and that would be Alderperson Caravello.
Thank you. This is ordinance 30 of 2025, an ordinance amending chapter section 78-105-(4) Central Business District, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Nino. Alderperson Caravello.
This just, as it says in the recitals, this is really to encourage more commercial business and streamline the process for approval, and for any changes or update on what's going on with this, if
I can
Chris wants
talk.
to take it.
I think the original PowerPoint's in there, but I'm going to give you guys the clip notes and feel free to ask questions. So again, we're updating ordinances because they're out of compliance. One of the things was when we updated our multifamily residential zoning district, this changed downtown central business district. So this is bringing that space into compliance. One of the other things that we did is in the original central business district, for example, any resident or any restaurant, even a pre-established business, had to come in for a conditional use permit. It's going to be permitted by right now. And then we spelled out some of the other spaces in there and clarified some of the ordinances. So that is the update. And we did the PowerPoint, and I think we've talked about it at a few of the Plan Commission meetings.
Any questions or comments on this one?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you talk the permitted use of residential only up to 2 units, why did you choose 2 units when a lot of the downtown above the retail, many of them have more than 2 units, and so why was just 2 units chosen? And I guess that's the initial part of my question.
Okay, yes. So it would be a conditional use permit for 2 or more units in the downtown area in that second floor. Now, so what I did, and I talked about it the last one, and I'll explain a little bit more. So those are conditional use permits for renovations inside of those building areas, and just more of a fun fact, when you're getting over two units, it becomes the commercial grade, which means you have to update like everything.
Firewalls.
Yeah, you have to sprinkler it, it becomes more, and it can be cost prohibitive, but that would be a conditional use permit over that. Now, if it's and those will not require parking because they're existing units, essentially, is what we're looking at. Now, if it's a brand new building, or it's a building in an area where the building was demolished and a new building is moving in, those will require 1 parking stall per unit. So that's really more the distinction in that.
But it still says only 2 units. So unless you do.
It should be probably 2, it should be 2 or more units.
Yeah, that's where I was.
So I can edit that or more. I think that would chalk up to a Scrivener error.
Yeah, because that seems very, very restrictive.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of potential new or renovated apartments in the downtown area are far more than 2 units.
Yeah, it says residents with more than 2 units in an existing building, and it says the alteration or modification takes place within the existing footprint of the building. The only alteration approved outside of the existing building footprint are for purposes of creating or altering means of egress. So that's how that reads. And that's a conditional use permit.
Right, but if you're doing this plan kind of central business, again, on the permitted use, number J that should be resident 2 or more units. Is that what you're saying?
Unpermitted, that doesn't need the conditional use.
No, permitted, under number 1J.
So I have it, I'm sorry, I don't know why, but it's like H in mine, but I have residential with more than 2 units in an existing building.
No, on ours, it's essential
It's on the
permitted use.
screen, Chris.
I can't read that, hang on.
I can blow it up for you.
Thanks.
Oh, probably not that big, but there it is. So it's under permitted use.
So that means it does, if it's a permitted, sorry, I apologize, I was in the conditional use area. If it's a permitted, then they don't need to come in for the conditional use permit. It's a permitted use in that district.
But it's only up to 2 units.
Yes, and then after 2 units, it's required a conditional use permit.
Okay.
Yep. So they don't have to come in for a conditional use permit if it's 1 or 2 unit. And if it's over 1 or 2 unit, then it has to have a conditional use permit. And that's where it has to go for plan commission. So much like the restaurant, it's permitted by right. Does that make sense?
No.
No? Do you want Rick to explain it, or?
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, if they have 1 or 2, it's
Permitted by
But if
right.
it's over 2, they have to get a conditional use.
Yes.
Because,
Well, most of the time that we're looking at, so if it's alterations, then we're looking to make sure it's like, hey, do they meet, they'd come in for the normal conditional use permit, we document the stuff that they need during that conditional use permit process, and then it would be on record and approved.
because the code might be different.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it too is we've got a couple of potential areas in the downtown that are larger buildings that could potentially have significant increases in residential units versus the 1 or 2 off ones. Additionally, when you're looking at a smaller building in the downtown area, because of window and light restrictions and stuff, getting apartments in the center of those buildings can be problematic. So really, 1 or 2 units is not going to restrict most of the buildings downtown. If we're looking at above 2 units, we want to go through and make sure they're meeting minimum requirements. And then it's a good way for the Plan Commission and council to see that the project's going on.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Next one, Alderperson Caravello.
Actually, I do have a quick, did we get a second on that first one?
Yeah, it was Adrian seconded.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
Okay, this one is ordinance 31 of 2025, an ordinance creating chapter section 78-105 dash parentheses 4 parentheses D Arts Zoning District, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Nino. Alderperson Caravello.
And I'm just, again, I'm gonna let Chris take it away to bring us up to speed on this one.
Okay, so I talked with Jordan. There are, per the motion at the last council meeting, I almost said plan commission, I apologize. So there's two other alternatives in your packet. We have one that has prohibited uses, and I put F, and this is in red so you can find it easier. It says motor vehicle services or repairs is prohibited unless the use is pre-existing and shall fall under section 78-210. Or the next one over is prohibited uses have been completely removed from the ordinance. But, you know, and we can go into more detail on that. So I guess that was the two alternatives they came up with from the previous meeting.
I'm looking for it.
It's 07A, and then there's also another 07A. So you'll, and then the 07A 46K2876-Art District, if you scroll down to page 5, that's where it's in red, and it's reiterating. And then the next one has the prohibited uses removed.
I'm not seeing the red. Are you?
It's on page 5.
Page 5. I think I'm on page 5.
No, you might be on the wrong document.
It's this one? Thank you. Oh, there it is. All right.
I have a question with that. It's, unless it's pre-existing, shall fall under section 78-2-10. I guess I don't know what that one is, but the question is, would they be able to modify their current building or add onto it? That is kind of the big, one of the other questions.
So if it is an existing non-conforming structure, they can make any like changes to the building that are considered repair, like just normal repair, wear and tear on a building. They can go 50% of the value of the building if it's a non-conforming structure for expansion. And then if the council or plan commission wanted to, they could also go a plan development route in this area too. So those are the three options.
Is the 50%, is that by ordinance or by state statute?
I think it's by state statute.
Do you know, Rick?
Yes, it's by state statute. And I guess just to be clear, this is just creating the district. It is not rezoning any property within the city.
Yes.
So there are no
Yes.
properties that are going to be subject to the arts
No,
district.
and for the record, the way that it's written right now, we couldn't go in and rezone it because it's prohibited use. So I looked at this the day after the meeting and I was like, this is stating that we can't rezone that property because it's a prohibited use. So it's in the best interest to have it in the ordinance. With that said, if you guys want it taken out or you want this reference, you know, it's whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, so like with the alternatives, if the council is interested in doing a modification, I think the second one that just removes the references to prohibited uses would be the preferred option. Because typically we don't list the prohibited uses in a district. It's just if they're not listed, they're
So then all the prohibited uses would go away?
correct. But the way that zoning ordinances work is if it's not expressly permitted, it's prohibited. So it's just clear if we remove all the prohibited uses.
That doesn't make sense. So if we get rid of the prohibited uses, then if it's not as a permitted use, then it's prohibited. So then that doesn't solve the problem.
Well, I guess the issue is there's no property that's actually going to be subject to this ordinance. So we're just creating the district. No property is actually being rezoned right now.
right now, so I don't like that kind of wishy word.
Well, somebody could request in the future to
Right.
rezone it.
Yes.
It wouldn't be us, it would be the property owner.
Okay.
So if a new property owner came in and said, hey, I want to rezone this, we would, and it's an acceptable use under the permitted use, then it would streamline the process to approve
It's no
that.
different than passing the pocket neighborhood. We don't have any zoned pocket neighborhoods currently, but it's an option if a landowner wants to come in and rezone to a pocket neighborhood.
And
It's the
what's
same
the
principle.
benefit to the landowner?
It's a streamlined
It's a
approval
streamlined
process.
process.
So this creates a zoning district where if somebody
Sorry.
wants to use it for some of these, sorry.
No, continue. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I get.
Yep, you'll be next.
Yeah.
Yes, so this creates permitted uses that if somebody wants to use their property for a use consistent with the uses in the arts district, they would ask the council to rezone their property to be in the art district. Because that way, they can engage in all those uses as of right. So if there's central business right now, which is generally the downtown area, I believe, is
Yeah.
all central business. So none of those properties are changing zoning designation with this ordinance. But if one of those property owners wanted to change this art district, they would petition the city to do so. If the city grants that rezone petition, their single property would be rezoned, and then they could use their property for any of the permitted uses in the arts zoning district.
And right now, so that people understand, it is a minimum, and this always goes up, a $500 rezone fee for changing in zoning use. It's got to go to a plan commission approval and the noticing, and it's got to go to 2 council meetings for the rezone. So it's a minimum 2-month process, normally, depending on when applications are turned in, when notices happen, and when the meetings fall.
Yeah, because we basically need a month notice to get it on the agenda.
Yeah,
and
I
then we-
require everything 4 weeks prior to the meeting, prior to the plan commission meeting.
Yep, so we have time to review it and go back and forth and make sure that everything is in order before we take it to the plan commission.
Yep.
Yep. Alderperson Nino.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that this gave me a lot of clarity. I spent a lot of time reading through this and trying to understand what's actually happening. And if I am wrong, please definitely let me know. But this is merely just adding a new type of zoning to the code of ordinances. I think the picture with the circle in the packet has misled people to believe that this will be applied. But from my understanding, it's just merely adding a type of zoning that somebody could use in the future. Now, because fears about, oh, well, a different council and a different, group of staff sometime down the road, couldn't they use this to force business types out? And that would be a question I would have for the city attorney. So I'm wondering, because this is not rezoning anybody, it's just creating a new type of zoning. Other than property owners anywhere in the city technically being able to request this, does city staff, anybody anticipate, that this would be applied to our zoning map or our future land use map that could potentially create those types of issues down the road?
So the future land use map, sure, because it'll be like a blanketed downtown area. That's not really a rezone, though. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go in and rezone a property without talking with the property owner first of all.
Well, even if we did, there would be a process that would include
Yeah.
a public hearing and everything else to do
Yeah,
a
and
rezone.
normally when we're rezoning or the conditional use permits or anything, there's a notice sent out to all the property owners
300
within
feet.
300 feet that are letting people know that this zoning change is taking place. We are currently working on our comp plan. Future land use map is going to change, but that's the future land use map and their generalizations. So you have essentially when you're looking at mapping for planning, you have 3 types of maps. You're gonna hear this. You've got the zoning map, you've got the future land use map, and then you've got the current use of that property. So a great one to use is like a parcel of land that's ag. The actual use that's going on is ag. The future land use might be for multifamily residential, and it could be zoned for multifamily residential, but the current use is ag. So like, and you see that a lot in transition areas.
Did that help answer your question?
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to reiterate, though, again, for anybody who's confused, this is adding a type of zoning to the code of ordinances, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Nobody is being rezoned by this ordinance. Like you said, it is just creating a new type of zoning designation. There is actually no property that's going to be zoned in the city as arts district because of this ordinance, unless somebody requests it. Theoretically, like, maybe there's a 0.01% chance sometime in the future the city council might say we're going to rezone different properties, but that has not been my experience here, that they actively rezone people without their requesting it. So again, this is just creating another type of zoning district. If you are currently zoned central business district, you will still remain zoned central business district. This zoning district is not applying to any property in the city just by creating this district.
All right. Alderperson Reeves.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I heard you also mention that this may be viewed as an opportunity for someone who wanted to be, because the parking restrictions are less, correct? No one is going to be forced into this district, but they may be able to join it if it gives them an opportunity for getting by with the parking, less parking,
Yes.
or other things.
Yeah, and
Right.
Why this was brought at the same time as the Central Business District, and this was at several Plan Commission meetings, and somebody was like, well, we should hold the Central Business and the Arts District, because they're in the same region, to that same level of no parking or requiring parking for brand new structures for residential. And so that's really why they were brought together. I don't know if that helps answer your question, but yeah, and that's really what it came down to, is there are people in this corridor that, in the zoning in there is like, there's like 5 different zoning districts, like really close in there. It's kind of haphazard a little bit, but some of them require parking, and they are clearly set up as downtown businesses with no parking areas. And so really this was kind of done so that those businesses, especially if they're running an art business, they could go in and rezone and take advantage of that. I was approached about that, so.
So if we didn't approve this, it may be a lost opportunity for some people who clearly are an arts business.
Yeah,
And
I
now
mean-
they may be forced to comply with business ordinances or zoning or requirements that they may not have to if they were allowed to be in an arts district and designated as such, if they choose to.
Yes, I thought this was a nice way to lay out a path forward for people that wanted to rezone their property.
Any other questions or comments? Sure.
So I have 2 questions. One, by property owners choosing to be part of this, we could have a whole patchwork of arts district, no arts district throughout the downtown area.
Yeah.
And that, you see that is not a problem.
No, I mean, really, if you look at a lot of the language, it's overlapping. It's just really how it's permitted, like either by right or by the zoning district. One of the things that we're going to have to work on during the comp plan update is figuring out where we want the downtown business areas to be. But I don't think, driving down through downtown area, I don't think you're going to go, this one's clearly zoned arts district, this one's zoned central business, but really what it is, it's laying that path forward for if somebody goes in and is like, this is what I want to do with my property, here's the steps to do it. So.
And I guess, and maybe going back to the prohibited uses or getting rid of them or keeping them with kind of caveats to make sure that current uses can still be there and they can still upgrade their building and expand their building if they want. I mean, is there anything, now that we just passed the central business district, if it keeps it at that, does that prohibit an existing business, such as the motor vehicle service and repair shop, from expanding within their lot size and improving? Because I think, we quickly passed that, and I want to make sure that we don't have to go back and revisit that to make sure that we just didn't do something that we're going to all regret in a matter of minutes.
Okay, yeah. So Central Business District is what is falling in this area, and I explained why we updated that. If there's an existing non-conforming structure, there's a lot that goes into this. And again, 3 options, right? They can expand to a certain point within their business, and I think property lines, and there's other things that are restrictive there. If they have to upgrade, like if it's maintenance, if there's maintenance requirements, if they have to upgrade their electrical, plumbing, HVAC, sprinklers, any of that stuff, I would not consider that part of the expansion. That is maintenance of a building, right? And it should not count against anything that's being done on the building. If the building is expanding, there's a 50%, and I have always worked with them. If they are outside of that 50%, and it is something that like you guys and the Plan Commission want, we would go the route of a plan development. That's the direction I would go. So I have not seen any plans. I haven't been approached about expansions. I'm not saying that they can or can't. I don't know what's going to go on there.
No, I just want to make sure that if we take these prohibited uses out and then it falls back to the central business, that we didn't oversee anything. I just want to make sure that we're all okay with our decisions and that we didn't miss something if we take these prohibited uses out.
We can take the prohibited uses out. It's really up to you guys. I think the only one that I remember reading and being like, I don't really know, and Rick, maybe you can lean in on this. On H, it says any uses that involve outdoor storage of materials or products, the products of, so basically it's like noise and like dust and that kind of stuff that would come off of, that could potentially come off of, I would think, an arts district. I think that's why when I was looking at this, I probably put that in there. Now, again, I wrote this and presented it to the Plan Commission in May. We've written a lot of ordinances since then, so I'm sorry if I can't remember exact reasons, but when I was looking through, I remember kind of having an inner debate about that. With that said, we do have noise restrictions and all of that stuff. The nice thing about our business, like our central business area, is the way that the river kind of forms. It does help with like noise and that kind of stuff in those areas. But if you guys want to take out prohibited uses that's listed there, it's fine. I mean, I know. I'm just
trying to play the devil's advocate to make sure that we make the best decision possible by asking you a lot of questions so we're all informed. Yeah, because we can all read this, but in actuality, we don't know how, when it plays out, if we're not thinking of something.
Alderperson Nino?
To your question about central business, because these have been so closely tied together, I went back and looked at what the current central business zoning is and compared it to what this amendment is. And the, commercial land use and conditional use that the vehicle repair and maintenance service and outdoor display is there are no changes to any of that language. There were other changes to this, like things like cultivation and selective cutting were removed. Some things were modified to like consolidate 2 different things into one bullet point, and then looks like some things were added, like the residential up to 2 units, solar energy systems, indoor commercial entertainment. So that's the other thing is the amendment didn't change as far as I could tell in comparing the two side by side.
So this is where this is where it gets really weird with the central business district. So there's two, and this is why I absolutely hate some of our ordinance. If you look at our ordinance, in one spot, it's prohibited in the downtown district, the vehicle repair. In another spot, it's not. What do you guys want to go with? I don't know. So, I mean, this is why we're updating our ordinances.
Is that because of like the historic downtown district?
No, it's
versus-
because it was like put in one spot and then missed in another. And this is why we're rewriting all of the ordinances,
What you
guys.
see in our
Like,
zoning codes is
yeah,
there's firms that's what they do, and there's a lot of boilerplate language, and oftentimes when they try to do that in a certain community, there's conflicts. We've had a lot of that even in the public safety portion of it, where you change one ordinance in public safety, and there's two other ones that are attached to it. And in the past, we had employees that had been here a long time, and they knew what they all were. And now we've had some retirements, and now we're starting to come across some of these, and it's like, well, this would be a good time just to fix it.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to remember, or for the next generation of city staff to try to remember or have these same kind of conversations. So that's really what we're running into. Alderperson Jensen, did you have a question?
Actually, I just wanted to clarify something with Director Munz-Pritchard. To summarize, pertaining to the property, Mr.
Yeah.
Long, okay. This ordinance will not have any effect on his property unless he requests to be rezoned.
yes.
Okay. And if he was, as Alder Hirsch was talking about, if he wanted to expand, if he wanted to add to his business, that would be an entirely different process, and he would have no problem, I shouldn't say have any problem, but he would have to go through any steps.
Yeah, he'd have to go through normal steps for
Normal steps, right.
expansion. So the first one is if it's a commercial building, he'd have to go through updating the entire, you have to meet minimum building code is the
Right.
first thing. So that's the first thing that would happen. We'd have to look at setback requirements, what's going on the site. If you excavate so much dirt, you have to actually have a stormwater maintenance. I don't know that that would apply in this particular area because they're smaller lots. The size of the lots does restrict the size of the building, could be to their advantage, quite frankly, with the 50% rule. So like there's a bunch of factors that go in. I have no problem sitting down and talking with people on this stuff. I normally do, but
And some of those factors aren't even determined by us, like the building codes is
Right.
a state. If it's a stormwater, it might be the county.
yep,
So
Yeah.
there's local ordinances, but out of all of them, those typically are the least restrictive ones, quite honestly. But, there are things that we can do. Until we had a plan in front of us, we wouldn't really even know.
yeah.
And anything, if they want to add on to the building, more than likely, they're going to lose parking spaces, which is, at least under their current model, is important to them because they're selling cars there.
Yeah.
So unless they have another business model that allows them to use their property different, we're not aware of that. But at the end of the day, whether they remodel tomorrow or 6 years from now, they still got to go through a process, and I don't know if this changes that.
No. No. Did I even answer your question?
All right.
I know.
Any other questions or comments? So what I'm hearing is, we have a motion and a second on the table. There was a discussion about perhaps removing the prohibited uses. If we were going to do that, we would need an amendment to that effect. So I guess this is where I look at the council and say, what do you all want to do?
Actually, I don't mind the prohibited uses if we use the red line aspect of it, that unless it's pre-existing, and, because I think there's some uses in there that we probably don't want downtown. I mean, that's just my opinion, I'm okay with, I mean, maybe we should really look at all the other prohibited uses to make sure that we are all in agreement with that, but if we really truly, if this is really truly gonna be an art zoning, we should make sure that other things are included in that.
Okay. Alderperson Butler?
It seems to me that the unamended language would protect the existing business owner unless they applied for this particular ordinance, unless they applied for the Arts District.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So because I went rounds in my head after the meeting last time, because that language is what's prohibiting them from being zoned as an art district. So, it's spelled out that they can't be zoned as an art district. Now, if they were hoping to rezone as an art district, like with the intent of switching from cart to art, and they were going to work it as, I don't know, but that language is actually what's prohibiting us from rezoning it. I mean, it's whatever you guys want to do.
All right. Alderperson Tilson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Pretty quiet.
Well, so far, the night's young. Words matter, and I think it's important to take out at least some version of the wording for the automotive maintenance, automotive showing. These are words in here with prohibited uses. Let's say the automotive decide they were going to fancy cars and artistic cars and painting cars, and that ran into problems down the road because it had automotive service and maintenance and sales on there. And I just feel it's way better to remove that one line, which I have talked with the director and the attorney about. The suggestion came up to remove all prohibited items, which I can understand that based on it's the words of the art district. If they then wanted to apply for that or get a different plot of land that had the art district tag on it and they bought that property, that they would then be able to use those words within there, and the prohibited section would just, if we removed that, cause less headaches down the road. Thank you, Mayor.
So are you looking to amend?
I'm looking to amend so we take out the prohibited items.
Take out all the prohibited items?
Based on the attorney's recommendation.
All right. Is that a motion?
I will make a motion for that.
So there's a motion to amend to remove all the prohibited uses from the ordinances. Is there a second?
I'll second Jordan's motion.
Second by Schumacher. All right, so let's discuss the amendment. Anything more you want to elaborate on, or did you cover?
No, I covered most of it. Again, I really was fighting for to strike out the automotive maintenance. I'm going to let the attorney talk about why it's more advantageous to just remove the prohibited section in general.
So, yeah, basically, if we remove the prohibited section, it doesn't mean that those uses are permitted. So I think it just clarifies, we've only got permitted and conditional uses, or we've only got permitted uses in this district. It just sort of streamlines the district in general. The ordinance language, I should say. So by removing it, you're not saying that, all those uses are now permitted in the district. It's just, we're not saying that they're expressly prohibited. They're still allowed to continue. If they were to rezone their property, they would be allowed to continue as a non-conforming use, which we already have a whole section on the non-conforming use in the city's ordinances. So I think this is just the cleanest way to do it, but I don't have very strong feelings if the council wanted to go the other way, but I think this is just the cleanest way to do it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any? Alderperson Reeves?
Just a clarification, and I think we'd be covered, but the section that says any use that involves offensive noise, vibration, smoke, dust, it sounds like we are already, is that clear enough somewhere that, or would it make sense to leave that in as a prohibited use?
So this is how we can approach this. We can take it out if we start, because right now we have like essentially like the nuisance, like with sound, all of that fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
If we start seeing, and again, we're rewriting our entire ordinance section by section. I'm sure that one is no different than all of the other ones, right? If we are having problems down the line, I think maybe we look at the ordinance and how to address, like, you know, just basic stuff, so.
Yeah, because that's really true of many sections of
Yeah.
our whole city, we hope, you
Yeah.
know, so,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't consider that actually a use. It's more of a side effect of a use.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I think, like you mentioned,
It could
we have a
just-
noise ordinance, we have minimum maintenance standards, we have other things in our code that obviously we go down, we talk to people about things all the time, and usually we work out something so we can just move
Yeah.
on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the distinction. So that answers your question?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? Alderperson Butler?
This will probably be directed at Rick, although maybe Chris, one of the two of you. So just to simplify it in my mind, an existing business that isn't, so a car business, just as an example. A car business in the unamended version, as long as they don't apply to become part of an arts district, their use doesn't change. Their future use, the rules around it, expansion, et cetera, doesn't change. If we amend it to just remove the red line that's showing on the screen right now, that business could theoretically then, that car business could theoretically then apply to be in the arts district, and it would be a permitted use because we removed that.
No.
No.
It would not be a permitted use. Okay. But if we, in the third version, so the current amendment, anything in there would be prohibited because it's not permitted, except if they apply to be part of the
And
arts district.
that's correct, because that's generally how zoning ordinances are interpreted. So if it's a use that's permitted or conditionally allowed, then you can use your property for that. If it's not listed in the ordinance and you're zoned in that district, you can't use your property for that use. So like, let's say that you're in a commercial district and you want to convert it into some sort of like heavy industrial use. So like you've just got some downtown store, it's central business district, but you want to turn it into like, let's just say like an animal rendering plant, all right? So that is not a permitted, like there's no, that use is not listed in the central business district. So you can't do it because it's not.
This is a comment about the arts district.
So,
No, I'm just using
right.
that as an example. So the arts district, same principle applies. If you have a use that you want to use it for, but your property for, but it's not expressly allowed. So like no other ordinance that the city has lists prohibited uses. So this would be an outlier. So that's why I think it's cleanest just to remove it.
All right, did that answer your question?
It did, I had a follow-up, but it
Oh,
would,
go
it would
ahead.
take, no, it would take us down a whole different path, and I don't want to do
You
that.
don't want to go down another rabbit hole?
If you want to stay after we can talk about, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the amendment?
I do.
Go ahead, Alderperson Abel.
Okay, so based on what Alderperson Butler's question and then Attorney Manthi's answer, it almost seems that removing the prohibited uses altogether, although it would be cleaner, it almost seems like it could be worse considering the concerns that are being raised by current business owners, or am I misinterpreting that?
So I guess I'm going to try to be clear. I don't know if I have been. So, so this arts district, we're just creating the district. So it's not actually like, so Melton Motors, right? They're not being rezoned to the arts district. Their current zoning is staying the same. So this doesn't affect them whatsoever because their property is not being rezoned. So This does not affect their current use of their property whatsoever because their zoning designation is not changing. So we're just creating a different type of zoning district within the city. So instead of like our downtown, like we've got our commercial districts. So we've got a central business zoning district. So in addition to that, we're creating the arts zoning district. So people have the option of applying to be rezoned into that. So it's not actually changing anybody's zoning designation. It's not imposing any new regulations on any current property owners. So it's not affecting anybody's current business right now.
No, if somebody else came in and wanted to do the same type of business, it wouldn't be allowed.
No.
Correct. So if somebody bought a piece of property that was, let's say somebody zoned their property arts district tomorrow, all right? Then somebody wants to buy that property and convert it into vehicle sales and service or repair shop, they would not be able to because the zoning prohibits it. But that's,
They could apply for a new zone.
they could apply for a different zoning district.
Yes.
And then.
But it'd have to be existing zoned as the art district, and nothing is right now.
Well, so
That is correct.
to get back though, and kind of reiterate what Attorney Manthe had said, is that basically right now, we don't have in our zoning districts anything that lists prohibited uses under those districts. And so to make it match, he's suggesting, and that's what Jordan motioned for, is to remove the prohibited uses so it looks like the adjacent zoning districts. I think that was the question, and I think that's what the clarification that was asked. Is that correct? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that this is not going to apply to any other current business. I get that. I think we're trying to solve for a problem, and I just am concerned that the solution could actually make it more confusing. So that's all. But yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions on the amendment? All right, we'll take a vote on the amendment. So the amendment is to remove all the prohibited uses. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. So what that does is it takes us back basically to the original motion as amended. So we'd be approving the ordinance without that language, so it seems redundant, but that's the procedure. Any questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. All right. Thank you all for being here. You're welcome to stay, but I think we're going to be here a little while.
We have 20 more items.
All right. All right, I'll queue up the next one, and then we'll go from there. So the next one is ordinance 32, and that one also came from the Plan Commission.
Yes, it did. This is ordinance 32 of 2025, approving a change in zoning located at parcel numbers 051110285032 and parcel number 051110286912, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Alderperson Caravello.
And this is a request for a zoning change and at 849 US Highway 51 to create 2 lots out of what is currently 1 lot.
This is a pretty simple one. This was the CSM rezone that was approved, and when I put the original paperwork through, I accidentally put it as a resolution instead of an ordinance. Got dropped to the wayside. This is the second reading on this. It was approved originally in July, so.
All right, any questions or comments?
I guess I'm not clear what on your diagram, you have a blue, orange, and green. It's divided into actually 3 lots, not 2, right? Because the blue.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's where it was confusing, because it says it's divided into 2, but it's actually 3.
So this was the CSM, and I did require that, I think the CSM was just recently signed, but that remainder blue area is to be added to the adjacent lot. It is the parent parcel, it's a really large parcel, and he had to bring in the deed prior to us approving the CSM, so that was deeded to the adjacent parcel. When you see those, like, it looks like kind of like a long Z. Do you see that, where that blue is? That means that's normally like the symbol to show that it's adjoining to the adjacent parcel. Can you guys see where that is right there? So, yeah, so this was that's why. So that area was rezoned to the bigger parcel, and then the two were rezoned to the smaller parcels. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, the next couple, looks like they came from Public Safety. Alderperson Wozniak Scanlon.
All right, ordinance 32 of 2025. It's the second reading to amend the no parking on East Street to allow parking again on both sides.
All right. Are you gonna move that?
I so move.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Tillison. Do you want to walk us through where we're at, or?
I will defer to some of the more qualified professionals in the room.
All right, any names?
Okay, don't all look at me at once. Chief Jinks?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on up.
So where do we want to start? Do you want a history of it? Do you want you're all familiar with it, right? So where I stand is I've listened to the residents in all of our meetings. They've been very respectful. We've had good conversations. As they mentioned, it's been at Public Safety numerous times. They live there. They express their feelings. There hasn't been a problem. I don't have anything documented where there has been. What gives me the conflict with removing it is simply the math. It's a very narrow street. In your packet, you'll see just a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So you'll see two vehicles parked on each side of the road with a squad, an unmarked, going through. You can see how narrow it is. Now, it is a dead-end street. The traffic is limited, but there is that concern. It's just so narrow for maintenance, and Josh can speak, Chief Rip can speak to larger vehicles, as can Director Aber, who's online, passing through when there's two vehicles on the street. Any questions for me?
No, I think the recommendation at the committee narrowly recommended to remove and allow parking on both sides, but it was pretty split, and it has been all along. And I would say, before we get too deep into it, I know that the chief has put together a process going forward, which I think is kind of the silver lining out of all this.
Yeah, out of this, it became apparent, like, most of the residents, as you heard, were unaware of the issue to begin with, which was brought at hand, but it was started just like any other problem. Somebody came to us with a problem. It was vetted. We didn't just act on it. It went through Public Works. I looked at it. It seemed to make sense. It went through this house. It was passed here before most of the people that were affected even
With a different recommendation than
right,
to me.
Yep, exactly. So it did open our eyes to that. You mentioned like zoning, and you do that, and maybe parking should become a zoning issue. No, but yeah, notifying the people that are affected is paramount. So we started looking at that, and then we started communicating with the neighbors, hand delivering letters in some cases. But yeah, it did open at least my own eyes to that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you doing that. I think that's going to help us going forward, so hopefully we won't be having the same types of conversations over and over again.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, I'm like you, I'm not really comfortable with parking on both sides of the street, and I definitely won't pass it, but if we did it just no parking on one side of the street? Is there one side that's better suited for parking versus the other? I mean, not to
Right.
pit neighbor against neighbor, but I'm always about public safety, and I'm looking at this, and it just gives me chills. If there's a need, and because it's not a cul-de-sac, it's a dead-end road, there's so many problems with this road, and I know nothing has happened so far, but yet that's not a good reason to be proactive.
Right. The original recommendation was based on the, what was brought forth originally. Most of the driveways are on the east side of the street. So, and the problem that was brought up was when I back out of my driveway, I have to back to the west side where there's cars parked, and with 26 feet, it's just hard to maneuver a vehicle, a full-size vehicle, with cars parked directly. So the original recommendation was to prohibit parking on the west side.
Alderperson Nito?
Is that the side with the fire hydrant where
No.
some parking is already restricted?
Right, no, of
Okay.
course not. So that's on the east side, right near a driveway.
Okay. Alderperson Reeves?
I think my question is actually going to be for Chief Root, because I do appreciate what these folks are saying, having to park a long distance if it's icy. I think that can be a significant safety hazard. If there's no parking, I'm very familiar with this area, and also just the idea of, well, I lost my train of thought. But my question is, if there was, because a regular vehicle, it's not handy, but it can get through, I am concerned if there was a fire about being able to protect the folks and getting to them. Nobody wants that fire, but it could happen. That's my
Right.
biggest concern, is with the fire vehicles getting through if they're on both sides.
Yep, so just the numbers game, which is what we're dealing with. So 26-foot street, our apparatus are 10 feet and change wide to get down the street. So if you have two 8-foot cars, that's 16 feet, that leaves 10 feet down the center. We still have to get out of the truck, and we have to open our cabinets, which is, those doors swing anywhere from 2 to 3 feet open. So, and then you go to winter, where sometimes that snow builds up, or people park away from the windrows, and so that narrows up that center lane. So, personal opinion, I'm not in favor of it being blocked off both sides. I think there's some concerns with parking, but I definitely would prefer to see one side no parking, just to give a little bit of leeway. It is, and the ambulances are the same way. That box is the same width as what our fire apparatus are, that 10 feet and change wide, plus compartment doors need to open. So that's just the math of it.
And outriggers if you have to have the ladder go up, right?
What's that?
And the outriggers if you have to have the ladder go up.
And the ladder, yeah, the ladder's a whole nother thing. And so our risks are, A, can we get a truck up and down? But while we're making our way up and down, there's an opportunity that we can damage personal vehicles in making that traversing up and down, damaging our fire equipment in the process as well. Those tight streets are just really difficult, and we can't narrow up the trucks really anymore. All the emission regulations really engineer where the cabs have to be a certain width wide to accommodate all of that stuff under the cab too. So we're really limited on how narrow we can make any of the trucks. That's pretty standard.
Have you guys hit anyone with any of the trucks before? Because some of the residents that have presented to the safety committee talk about that there have been ambulances and fire trucks down the street, and there haven't been issues so far.
Right, so far, I can't speak to ambulance calls. I don't know off the top of my head. I know the one fire call we had was during the middle of the day, when people typically aren't, the number of vehicles parked aren't as much. So we didn't have a problem that day, but again, not many people were home. So that this becomes a much bigger problem at night when more people are typically at home and people are parked. So can we get through? we absolutely can, but it's definitely a higher risk as to what damage may occur. You know, if I had a crystal ball and could say that we would or wouldn't have fires there, life would be a whole lot easier in my world, but so that's kind of the rundown.
Any other questions or comments?
I got more to say, Mayor. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I appreciate Chief and Chief coming in tonight with this. Again, pretty much the entire block has showed up here tonight, you know, to talk about this has been a way of life of theirs for several decades at least. You know, parking can be a little rough. That's a tight picture that we're looking at on the screen, but it doesn't show the full street. Again, daytime is going to have less vehicles on it than nighttime. But they haven't had issues with snow from what the residents have told us. You know, they move their vehicles as needed for snow emergencies. I think if we took into factor every street and street parking that got hit by a plow or hit by fire engine, whatever, you know, we'd be having a lot less street parking. I'd really like to keep this one the same.
I think Director Airbear's on. I'd like to hear him as well.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would add, I apologize, my camera's not working for some reason. The street is a 26-foot street, curb to curb. If there's 2 cars parked there, usually that's about 8 feet for parking, and then that leaves 10 feet for access. Worst case scenario with our apparatus would be a plow truck with the wings stowed, so up. We're looking at about a 12-foot wide apparatus, and that's also with the curb and gutter exposed, so no snowpack narrowing the roadway. The crux of it is if we can't get in there, we can't maintain it, and we're not going to try to squeeze in between cars to plow. So if there was cars there, there's a risk that we would not be able to maintain that roadway.
Okay. Alderperson Nino.
I spoke to a resident yesterday who did share that the residents do adhere to alternate side parking in the winter. So my question is, have there been plowing issues when they are doing alternate side parking throughout those snowy days?
To my knowledge, and keep in mind the snow ordinance is from midnight to 8 a.m. Yeah, we do appreciate residents, outside of those times, staying off the roadways so we can do our work. I am not aware of any issues in this block, to be quite honest.
I have a follow-up, Mayor.
Sure.
Brett, have the plow trucks ever hit a car on this East Street dead end?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Have the plows hit any cars on any other streets in Stoughton parked on the street?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, well, then this one should be fine.
All right. Anybody else that hasn't spoken on this issue have anything to say? So the motion on the floor right now is...
Well, I'm going to make an amendment, so whenever you're done talking.
Yeah, so the motion on the floor is basically to allow parking on both sides as it was. I think that's what the recommendation was, right? And you want to make an amendment?
Yes, I appreciate all the neighbors coming in, but I also have to, as a council member, have to take not only your safety and your personal property safety, but also our own city property safety and the safety of our public safety officials, the fire, the ambulance, the police, and the public works. And so it doesn't pass the gut test. And so I'm going to offer an amendment to having parking on just the east side of the street.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Jensen. So I think anything else you want to say on the amendment?
No, I think, the chiefs have actually, and Director Airbear have eloquently stated their concerns, and yes, okay, so there hasn't been an accident yet, but let's not create a situation where there could be or create a public safety issue if it's already been identified. And yes, maybe we have to look at other roads as well, but we have to start somewhere. And like I said, public safety to me is number one, and safety to our staff and our very, very, very expensive vehicles that that we have. And so that's my amendment.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments on the amendment? Alderperson Nino.
I just have a question about, let's say it's the middle of the night and there is a fire at the end of the street and there is damage caused to the fire truck and vehicles. Who assumes those costs?
I'll let HR and risk management
No,
answer
I'm the
that.
city's risk management director, so
Still
that
waiting
would be
all
the
night.
city's. It would be 100% on us, and we have a self-insurance retention where we have to pay dollar for dollar up to the first $25,000. So just so you're aware, that comes out of the city's funding, the first $25,000. And each vehicle is a separate, so it's not like it'll all pull together if we took out 4 cars that night. That doesn't all count towards 25. Each vehicle we hit is up to $25,000, self-insurance.
Follow up?
And to verify, the east side of the street is the side that has the fire hydrant? Great.
All right. Any other?
Change it to the west side, but they just said that that's what the chief had recommended.
Is that what you were recommending, was the east side?
What I said was that was the original, based on fact.
We can't really engage in a comment from the public when we're in deliberation. Any other questions or comments from alders? Alderperson Wozniak-Scanlon.
I have a question, I think probably for you, Rick. When we've identified a situation such as this, and, we have an ordinance that exists moving forward with new development to prevent these type of road widths for these type of reasons, if we go back to allowing parking on both sides of the street, what kind of risk does that potentially open the city up for?
So the ordinance, as it's written on like the parking standards, that is, I guess, not recommendations. It's sort of like a presumption that future streets will adhere to this plan for street width and parking, but it does provide discretion to deviate from that. So as far as risk goes, like just for amending an ordinance that allows for parking or not allowing parking, that's a legislative decision, and generally you're going to have immunity on those types of decisions from like liability type issues. So I guess the risk is on the equipment side.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, we've been arguing this for 6 months. I know it's been back and forth to the safety committee a couple times. It has passed to keep parking on both sides, understanding there's disagreements with it, and with that, I'd request a roll call vote.
Okay, so a roll call vote takes it 2/3.
Sorry, I had my hand up.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Can I-
sorry. All right.
It's okay.
We'll let you go, and then if there's a roll call vote, it does take a 2/3 to call the vote. Go ahead, Alderperson Abel.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, if we pass this amendment and or keep some sort of restriction on parking on the street, I just want to understand what the next steps might be. That, we obviously all know this isn't the only street that this could be applicable to. or this concern is, or the public safety concern, which I do think is a valid concern, is applicable to, but it's only one street that we are focused on here. And I think that's the only thing that gives me pause in all of this. I think it's a thing we need to fix, but I think it's hard to fix that when we're addressing it with just one street versus holistically.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I heard a motion to call for the vote. Is there a second? Okay, I'm not hearing a second. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the amendment? Okay, hearing none, so then we will vote on the amendment anyway. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
No.
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 I believe the ayes have it. Any question on that? Did you get that, Candy?
Yes, I have that. There was 3 no's, correct?
That's what I heard. Is that what you guys heard?
Okay.
Okay, so that takes us basically back to the original motion as amended. So we would be passing the no parking on the east side.
No parking on the west side. No parking on the west side. Parking only on the east.
Parking only on the east side. Thank you for that. Parking only on the east side. All right, any questions or comments on the motion as amended? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed?
No.
No.
No. No.
I heard 4 no's. Is that what you heard, Candy?
That's what I heard.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks you all for being here tonight. Next item is also coming from Public Safety, Alderperson Wozniak-Scanlon.
Ordinance, sorry, I can't see, 34 of 2025, and that is to add a stop sign in the Magnolia Springs addition at Orchid Avenue and Taylor Lane.
All right, this one sounds easy. Is that a motion?
And I so move.
All right.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Go ahead.
As you can see on the visual aid on the screen, the road comes out of Magnolia Springs to Taylor Lane, and the stop sign will be at the end of this road here, so that people stop and take pause before they turn on to Taylor, which has oncoming traffic from the right.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one? Seems pretty straightforward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Just so you know, Candy, Tilson's out of the room right now. Ordinance number 11 comes from CACP for a second reading. Alderperson Nino.
Yeah, this is O-35-2025, and this is to add ad hoc committee descriptions into the ordinance.
All right.
Second?
Oh, I so moved.
No.
I heard a second by Jensen. And anything you want to elaborate on?
No, I think this is pretty straightforward, that we're trying to make ordinance, or we're trying to make committee descriptions consistent in how they are structured, as well as with the language, and also include the ad hoc committees, and then bring the rest of the committee language into conformity with the same structure and language as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? I just want to give thanks to the members of the committee. They did some homework on this one. I think everybody did, and especially Mark Sinat spent some extra time on it, so it was really helpful getting that language together so the city attorney could review it. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Hey, we're at new business. All right, R144. Looks like we got a couple planning items. Alderperson Caravello.
And let me get at this one? Okay, yes, this is R-144 of 2025, approving a conditional use permit for a health or fitness centers per subsection 78-206, parentheses 4, parentheses B, located at 225 Hole Avenue, parcel number 05110-728-5028, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Schumacher, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is a request by the business that is currently there, which is Level Up Fitness, to add an additional building to expand their business.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one also came from the Plan Commission.
And this one is R-145 of 2025, approving an extraterritorial land division at parcel number 026/051-023-9001-1, Town of Dunkirk, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Schumacher, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is an ETJ request for splitting off a piece of this parcel to create a residential lot.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Okay, thanks. Yep, Jordan's back in the room, Candy, for that vote. Next item is the executive budget, and I'll highlight a few things, and then Director Trebekowski can walk us through some others. I'll just start out by saying that we have different aspects of our budget. The first one we're going to look at is our operations, and you'll notice when you go through the slides that 70% of our operation budget is salaries and benefits. And we also had record growth 3 out of the last 4 years as measured by the net new construction, which increases our equalized value, which allows us to basically create more tax revenue. With the idea is that tax revenue will be spread across more households as we grow. And what that did is it really allowed us to address some much needed staff to support the growth. And you'll see on the slides that we have multiple positions, and we're going to talk about some of them tonight as well. One in streets, one in parks, one in planning, part-time position in library, and we're also going to be able to fund our portion for the school resource officer in the police department. So those are all things that we paid for through the net new construction, through some other things that Lisa was able to find in the budget, and through some insurance savings that Director Gillingham was able to provide, and she can talk a little bit more about the insurance. We also do have employee wage increases in our budget, and it's kind of all over the board right now. You might see for Dane County, they're actually taking a pay cut. Other school districts and municipalities are in the 3 to 4% range is where we're falling in. The insurance I mentioned, we were looking at a double-digit increase, and I think we landed at 4.9, which is great, but we have to change providers, but we expect very minimal impact. So there'll be some work to do, but I'm happy about where we landed with that. Other adjustments that the finance department came up with, we utilized some of our cost allocation study that we did last year to help justify where we're billing some administrative time. And next year we'll be redoing that cost allocation study so we can dial that in a little bit more for this time that we spent basically helping other departments, and the costs that are associated with that. There is a separate budget for EMS. They're an enterprise fund, and so their revenue comes in through collections from insurance companies or from individuals that don't have insurance, Medicaid, Medicare. That's where their revenue comes from, and we've made an adjustment to their budget in order to implement a new pay structure for the paid on-call employees. We haven't rolled that plan out yet, but I know Lisa and Josh have been working on that really hard, and we're hoping to have that implemented next year, but we want to have the budget dollars set aside to do that. I'm pleased to say we're able to have a balanced budget without having a referendum or a wheel tax or any other tax. Not too many municipalities in Dane County can say that right now, so I'm really pleased about that. So we're doing what we can to keep our mill rate down and to keep our property taxes down. The other part of our budget is our capital improvement projects, or our CIP. Those typically are for large purchases and investments like buildings, vehicles, land, parks, and roads. We have a CIP committee that met. They made a recommendation. We scrubbed some of the work afterward as we got more information in, and we were able to reduce some of the costs in fire and public works to free up some capital for some potential land acquisition that we want to talk about later in the agenda tonight. And then we were also included some dollars available so we can begin the phase 1 of the River Haven project, which is the project the RDA has been overseeing down on the riverfront. So we're really excited about that project beginning next year. That's all I have. We have some slides. Lisa can blow through them. I know we still have a lot on the agenda, but if you have any questions along the way, feel free to stop her. We have a public hearing at the next meeting.
Correct.
So we can go into some detail then as well if you'd like, or if you have questions between now and then. All right.
Yeah, I'll quickly go through these. If you have specific questions, please don't hesitate to stop. The first slide is just comparing the mill rate on an equalized value basis with the amount that we were able to increase through levy limit adjustments, as well as the net new construction, as well as a debt service adjustment utilizing on the levy limit worksheet. We were able to increase more and add in positions, give increases, etc. And for the average $350,000 home based off of this budget would see about a $110 increase to their tax bill. The second page is just a mill rate recap over the years. That is on an assessed value basis, just the total of all the taxing jurisdictions and where the city has been at. The next page, just some positives. The mayor did hit on a lot of these, so I won't spend any time on these, but if you have specific questions, happy to answer. On the next slide, going through the positions that the mayor had mentioned, just noting that some of these positions do split out between what is levy funded and some through the stormwater fund. Going to the next slide, just some challenges we faced. I won't run through these. They're spelled out here. If you have any questions specifically on them, I can answer that. The next page is also challenges faced. The following slide, we get into now some charts. Just to note that the bar charts here, the percentages listed on there is that percent against the total. So when you see some go down from 25 to 26, it does not mean that the amount has lessened. And you can see that in the detailed chart behind them. The things I'll note on here, the property tax, of course, is our largest revenue. And noting that the fund balance applied is a lot lower this year. There was an adjustment made, amendment for that $600,000 ERP. But as well as we didn't need to use the fund balance to stay within levy limits on this as we have in years past. So the detail is behind that on the next slide. And then the following slide, this is just the operating portion, the property tax comparison. The detail is after that slide. And again, these are all the same with the allocations, comparison from 25 to 26, the dollar amount change as well as percentage. The next slide is just by category, noting, our debt service is one of the highest, next being public safety. Again, the detail is in the chart behind that. And then if we go to the next slide, this again, as the mayor mentioned, what makes up the majority of our budget, wages and benefits, and the operating expenditures. The detail is behind that. I do want to make a note on this slide where it looks like from the 2025 to the 2026 budget that operating expenditures decrease. That is not the case. That is misleading with that original budget of 600,000 ERP expenditure that was later amended earlier this year. So on the next, expenditure restraint program. So there, earlier this year, to stay within how much you could increase your general fund expenditures by, there was an amendment to remove $600,000 budgeted expenditure. Otherwise, you wouldn't receive your expenditure restraint payment. We will be exceeding that with this budget to get all the capacity for the levy limit, but that is planned. So with the expenditure restraint payment that we'll receive in 2026, we have moved that to the capital fund. And the reason of doing that, if we kept it in the general fund, knowing we were going to lose it the next year we would have to find $306,000 to make up for a payment loss. So that was strategically done that way. The next slide is just by the funds that have property tax support, just how much for those funds there are. There's no chart for that. They pretty much stay the same percentage allocation-wise. Then there's some charts for the citywide funds, so that would include the EMS and stormwater, all special revenue funds. Won't go through all of these. If there's any questions on them, the charts, the detail, I'll just note that the chart, if you go to the chart after this, the capital outlay, that does include all the carry forwards that we know of as right now. So, on the next page, just benefit breakout. Obviously, health insurance is one of our largest costs. So it's great when we can get down to a 4.9% increase for that this year. Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide. Just again, the detail behind that, amounts and changes. After this, we'll quick go through the capital improvement plan. If you want to go to the next slide and the following slide. So this is the detail of the changes that were made from the SIP committee to what's included in this budget. I'm not going to run through the detail. If you do have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer. But those are the changes from there. What the total, on the next slide, what the total increase is, what our debt issue is at right now. And if we go to the next slide, this breaks it out by department. These are the projects net any revenues that we know of. And then the following slide is just a summary of the funding source. So noting that out of this 17, almost 18 million, 11 million of that is levy supported. We will work on the next slide. We will continue to work going through some unspent bond proceeds, making sure we're utilizing that. At some, we might have to use it towards debt payments, but if we can move it and use it towards projects and not continuously borrow and have these unspent bond proceeds or note proceeds sitting there, we will do that. And we'll continue to watch the fund balance of various funds, like the debt service. There is a healthy fund balance there that shouldn't be. So we use some of that in 2025. We will continue to evaluate that for 2026. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the expenditure restraint program payment, we'll be utilizing that to downsize that debt. So, and before we even issue, we'll go through the projects again with the departments to make sure we're only issuing debt for projects that we will be able to complete. And then we just have some charts. Ellers did a preliminary financing plan based on the 5-year CIP. And this just shows where we would be at for debt capacity, noting that if we were to borrow as much as the almost 18 million, we'd be at just over 61% of our debt capacity. And then it just shows where we would be at for the next 5 years should the plan happen as is. Debt service tax rate, if you look all the way over to the right, I'm just going to note that because our equalized value continues to grow and our debt isn't growing as much with it, the actual rate for the debt service would go down. Even though we're increasing the amount of debt over the next few years, the amount would go down, that rate. On the next slide, this is our carry forwards. I won't go through them unless there's any questions on that. And then we'll just quick hit on some other funds, noting that there was an increase from John's disposal of 2.8%. We do have to pass some of that on to the taxpayers or rate users. And we're going to do a 2.55% or a $5.35 increase over the year. And just a note about the fund balance that we should maintain where we're at for our fund balance policy, so that will need to be continually monitored. Stormwater, we are not looking to do an increase for 2026, but just noting if we continue to issue debt, as the utilities described, you have a debt coverage ratio. We're not required with general obligation debt, but it's a good metric to use. And we will be looking at stormwater's fund balance and possibly not issuing debt for either all or some of the projects. And the mayor mentioned about the EMS increase. So this is the proposed increase over several years, noting that we will be evaluating for a pay structure change. And just whether the next steps are. I'm happy to answer any questions, either on the presentation. The budget book was also available in the packet. If there's any questions on that, happy to answer.
All right, I know we whipped through that pretty fast, but we'll have another whack at it. It's already been to finance, at the last meeting. So certainly if you have any questions between now and the next council meeting, feel free to reach out to myself or the finance department. Otherwise, we'll continue on. Does anybody need to take a break? Are you all good? Or feel free to get up and come back if you need to stretch out. We'll go to number 15. This one went through personnel and then finance. Who would like to introduce this one?
I think I get to introduce the next few, so I should get to wear the hat, I think. So this is our 146 of 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve Group Help Cooperative, GHC, as the healthcare provider for 2026 and 2027 budget years. This is a 2-year agreement with a 4.9% premium increase in 2026 with no changes to the existing plan design. Year 2 has an NTE not to exceed clause of 8.9% with no changes to the plan design. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Schumacher. Alderperson Butler.
And even though the mayor stole your thunder, AJ, I'm going to let you talk about this a little bit.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. Very excited to share with everyone that we were able to negotiate down to a 4.9% increase. We started initially with courts at 22% and got them down to about 11.9. Initially it was 13.9, then to 11.9. They really did not want to and haven't shown much interest in the last couple of years to want to play ball with us. So I made the decision to then take it to market. GHC came forward and wanted to quote against courts, and I absolutely entertained that. And through negotiations with them, no plan design changes, we arrived at the 4.9% and a not to exceed for the second year at 8.9. Just so you're aware, that's $152,996. That's a 7% savings total over where Quartz's renewal came in. So significant savings there. And then, like I said, that 2027 not to exceed. I haven't had a second year quote in probably our first year with Quartz, which would have been a good 8 to 9 years ago. So really excited to be able to cap our number and be able to negotiate in 2027, try to move that number down. So very excited to present this to you. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. No, great work. The question is, does this means that all the employees have to find new doctors?
No.
No.
No. So the way GHC is structured, Mayor Swadley and I met with their executive team, and we had about 40 questions prepared for them.
You did, I didn't.
Okay, I had 70 questions, to be honest. But one of the things that we talked about was who's going to be affected by this negatively. And there are 5 employees that will have to find new primary doctors. Those doctors that they were seeing were in Associated Physicians, the Women's Clinic, Melia Schur and Cardwell, and then Wildwood. And there was one more clinic that does not participate or is quoted through GHC. I'm one of those people, one of those 5 people that will have to find a new primary doctor. We do have transfer forms that the employees will be given during their onboarding with GHC, so they will help us find new primary doctors. The other employees that are seeing Quartz doctors or doctors through Meritor, they will not be forced to make a change. We would like them to go in through the GHC model because that'll get us better pricing moving forward. But many of those physicians, like the ones here in Stoughton with Quartz, are known as GHC provided providers.
And so the Stoughton Hospital also, they can go to Stoughton Hospital?
No.
No.
No, that was one of our considerations. For primary care, we do not take Stoughton Hospital, it's part of SSM. They take Quartz and Meritor. So if somebody's seeing a SSM doctor as their primary care, no, that's not accepted. We don't have anybody that's doing that right now. So the 5, like I said, were under those other carriers. We can go there for urgent care, but we cannot go there for primary care.
Okay.
Anybody else
Any
have
other
any
questions?
questions? No questions? I thought maybe you were reaching for it. Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. All right, the next one is, the next several here are coming from personnel and finance again. Are you guys like drawing straws or flipping coins over there, or? Oh, it's all you?
It's all me.
Okay.
This is R-147 of 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve a new position, GIS analyst, with a pay rate of $30 per hour, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sherlucky. Alderperson Butler.
Director Gillingham.
Okay. This position here is one that we've actually had 2 interns working for the city over the past year utilizing those ARPA funds. This position would be reporting directly to Director Munns Pritchard. The GIS position has shown to be of great value within the city. In fact, one of the things that Director Pritchard shared with us is we're one of the few communities that do not have a GIS analyst. And after looking into what the needs were, the value that those interns have provided, it was determined that this is definitely a position that the city needs and would benefit from, as well as have cost savings by not having us outsourcing this. Any questions?
All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item also came from personnel/finance.
That one didn't download for me for some
R-148.
reason. Yep, it's R-148 of 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve an additional machine operator parks horticulture position with a pay rate of $31.19 per hour, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Reeves. Let me guess.
Director Gillingham.
Okay, let's move forward with this one. This has been in front of both personnel and finance already. This position is an additional machine operator that will help during snowfall. with snow operations. And this position is going to focus on horticulture as well as some of our stormwater maintenance as well. This is a position that's needed due to growth, and if you have any questions, let me know.
All right, any questions or comments on this one?
I just really is, hopefully you get a good horticulture person that actually knows native species and can operate a machine. I mean, that's quite a diverse skill set.
Absolutely, and we've got a good job description put together, and if we don't have somebody that has that training, I talked extensively with Alderperson Reeves, and we believe that there is education out there that we can get the person up to speed. We do know
On the
that
operator side or the horticulture side?
Horticulture side.
I would do it the opposite way.
Yeah, the reason being is they need to carry a Class A, and that's a qualification. That's why we go that direction.
Alderperson Sherlucky.
When will the position be posted?
As soon as we get authorization here, then we will post a position for hiring as of 1/1.
Yeah, we're already told Director Aber, it can't snow until after the first of the year. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. R149, same deal.
R149 of 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve an additional machine operator streets position with a pay rate of $31.19 per hour, and I so move.
There a second?
Second.
Second by Sherlucky.
Same story, different role.
Here we go. This position here is directly related to growth. You know that we've added to our lane miles and have not added additional machine operators for streets. I think it was 2019 was the last time that we had an actual ad in that department. They've been running extremely lean, trying to pull from the Parks and Rec. In fact, we have the recreation team. They not only do the recreation, but they go out and do a lot of the snow removal of the sidewalks and other areas. So this is going to get us more focus on the street side, not just for snowplow removal, but also all of the additional projects that we are taking on internally that we used to outsource, and again, saving the city money by doing that. Any questions?
If I could just add, I'm sorry, this is Brett.
Sure, go ahead.
One of the major things too, and AJ, you hit on a lot of it, but our stormwater permitting, our MS4 permit, dictates that we essentially sweep the entire city twice per month. We've also added, I think, 20 basins in the last 5 years, stormwater basins that take maintenance. We'll also be teaming up with that horticulture position, if approved, to maintain those basins, but the stormwater is a huge part of the ask as part of this position and this team. You mentioned lane miles. In the last 5 years, we've gone from 120 lane miles to 136 lane miles, so essentially a whole new plow route. So we'll be incorporating this staff person into our plowing operations, as well as the parks/horticulture position into the operation, both on the streets and park side.
All right, any questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. R150.
R150 of 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve an additional library assistant to adult services at 1,144 hours annually, 22 hours per week, with a pay rate of $22 an hour, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Viano. Alderperson Butler.
Director, get
Ready to
that
roll.
down.
Okay, this position for the library is key number one, coming from the safety standpoint. We have another part-time person working up there, but the number of hours that we need coverage up there we're not meeting that. So we do have the need from that side. We also want to be able to free up the part-time person to be able to work also with teen services. So I don't know if you're familiar with the second floor of the library, but adult services and teen services are both up there. So that's a very busy floor for us. When someone wants to take a bathroom break, there are times that we have to leave the floor not covered with a person. Same thing for breaks. So we do augment when we can with additional staffing from other floors, but that's pulling from another area. This has been a request from the library board and the library director for over 6 years, and is definitely a position that needs to be filled to provide adequate coverage. Up there, there's many, many resources that they need to cover, not only just helping with adults, but covering the tech services area up there with the computers, and then all of the teen activities that are going on. So it's a busy area, and the additional staffing is definitely needed and has been. Questions?
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. R151.
These next two came through finance this evening earlier. R151 of 2025 to amend the 2025 adopted budget for stormwater quality management plan, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves, Alderperson Butler. Can't pass this one on.
I know, AJ, you're off the hook now. This one passed unanimously in finance earlier. It is to address some carryover costs, and I'll let Director Trebatowski speak more fluently on it.
Basically, in the 2025 budget, we believe there might have been a keying error or something happened where this was an original project, just the amount wasn't carried forward as it should have. So this is correcting that, so that there is a budget amount for the project, as well as the anticipated grant revenue.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Next one came from finance earlier, as Alder Butler mentioned.
This is R152 of 2024, return of letter of credit with RHD Properties LLC for 51 West Development, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second,
Second by President Schumacher.
2025, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Just got to change the date on the resolution, Candy.
Oh, yeah.
Alderperson Butler, go ahead.
So this is, we see these all the time. This is an adjustment to existing letters of credit for improvements in the 51 West development area. This, some of the improvements are done and have been approved, and the remaining Phase 2 improvements have a separate letter of credit. So this is to return the letter of credit for the completed. Did I summarize that well?
I think so.
You were hiding.
Yes, you did.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. R153, and this one came from utilities. Is that Alderperson Hirsch? Is that you? I can never remember.
Authorize the release of rights to planet. Authorizing the release of, this is R153, 2025, authorizing the release of easement rights to platted utility easements on lots 32-43, 77-88, and 97 to 104 of Magnolia Springs, recorded as document number, this is like funny years, 5952542 in Outlot 1 and Lot 1 of CSM's 16872, recorded on document number 6049784. This went through Utilities Committee and it approved 6-0 on October 20th of 2025, and I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jensen. All right, anything else you want to elaborate on this one, or?
No, I'm gonna let, is there somebody from the utilities? He's down there at the end, go for it.
Yes, I'm here, thank you. So this is a routine request. The developer is changing their stormwater management conveyance system on the property, so asking us to release the current easements, and they're granting the utility new easements. So no concerns from our end on this one.
All right, any questions or comments for Director Schleicher?
Multi-purpose.
Pulling a rabbit out of there? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next
It's on
item.
my head, it's the same color.
Yeah, there you go. Who wants to introduce the next item? This one, we're looking to authorize and have Adam serve on the director as the WPPI representative from Stoughton. I think in the past, the director has always been our representative, and then the assistant director has been the alternate. Who would like to? Go ahead.
This is resolution 154 of 2025. Jeez.
It's getting late.
It's been a long night.
It has.
Resolution 154 of 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve the appointment of Stoughton Utilities Director Adam Schleicher. How do you pronounce your name? Schleicher. As a director to the WPPI Energy Board of Directors. This again went through Utilities Committee and we recommended approval 6-0 on September 22nd of 2025. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Reeves. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. All right, next item, R155 of 2025. This one came from Utilities. We do have a request from STI, Stoughton Trailers Incorporated. They're here tonight. Ray Ho would like to make a request of the council.
Yeah, I'll be quick and simple. So the Stoughton Utilities put a good kind of commentary together on their rationalization for recommending against the application we put forward. Our request tonight is simply that you do not act on it tonight. Quite a bit of what they were referencing was DNR regulations, and we thought it might be helpful, maybe not even for this application, but for either us or a city in the future to get direct DNR comment on this regulation itself for this purpose. So could be utilized in the future. If you think it could be beneficial in the future, then we can share that with you for this project. If it's not, then understand that it might not be a benefit to you. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, so basically they're asking for us to take no action tonight, but that's not my decision. That's all your decision. We do have a recommendation from Utilities. I think your options, what would they be, Rick?
So we could postpone. We could take action to either approve it or deny it or approve with other conditions. So it's really at the council's pleasure if they want to take action or don't want to take action tonight.
There isn't really anything imminent as far as if we took action or didn't take action. It wouldn't really change anything tomorrow as far as I know. So I guess it's all up to you. Go ahead.
I guess if we don't take action, what's our next step? I mean,
I think.
I mean, if we bring in a DNR person, I mean, what? That's just their opinion. I mean, again, and it already went through Utilities. Utilities thought about it, was very adamant about their decision. So I guess I'm concerned about postponing it when it was presented to utilities, it was presented that an action need to happen right away to help STI Holdings for this well. So I'm really a little concerned that now it isn't a time-sensitive matter when it was just a week ago.
Well, I mean, Rahal can help answer this. I think there's a couple things. The decision and the recommendation from staff and from the committee was based on a couple things. One was a state statute that I believe the DNR oversees, and the other one was our local ordinance, which obviously we oversee. And at the time, I think the hope was to get a well approved, and if it was, then they would immediately begin to fill up the stormwater pond and test it and make sure that, you know, it held water and it would maintain a level. But if the direction would be denial, then they'd have to go to a plan B as far as filling up that well. And I think the request is to give them time to have a conversation with the DNR about that state statute. And then the other part of that would be is more than likely if the pond is going to be stocked with fish, for example, what the permit process would look like, because that might change some of the thought about how that pond is being managed.
No, I think that's correct. So we kind of outlined when we met about it some of the short-term reasons for the application and the longer-term reasons for the application. The short-term, we're currently pursuing the opportunity to use the alternative options provided by Stoughton Utilities. So now this is not for those short-term needs. This is more for those long-term potential amenities and whether there are any DNR maybe snags that we might catch down the line. So we're trying to just take some extra time to do due diligence on specifically kind of B and C on here, and then anything that may be related to that further down the line. Maybe not specific to the well, but potential amenities, or if the city, for example, wanted to water soccer fields or things like that, then are there any things DNR-wise that would be problematic?
So my question to you is, are you pulling your current application at this time to reapply at a future date?
We could. That's not our plan, though. Our plan is more for just getting the information, again, whether it be for us or city, after that land is turned over, for specific DNR feedback on potential amenity use in the future.
Couple hands over here. Who was first?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
If we postpone this tonight, does it come back to the Utilities Committee then, or are they asking for the postpone here to then gather their new data and come back to council?
You could do either. I mean, you could postpone until further request by the applicant, or you could remand it back to utilities until the applicant requests to come back.
And we have no timetable for that at this point, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think this is more, one, I don't want to speculate as the likelihood of these things, but if the DNR came with feedback that changed Stoughton Utilities' opinion, well, that might change the recommendation here. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the likely scenario here. What I think it may be helpful for is, the mayor referenced the potential of stocking a pond with fish. It is a stormwater pond, so is there anything potentially harmful with that? Or any other amenities that may be offered in that park space that a well could benefit from? And that might be something that the city could look back on 2 years from now and say, actually, this could be helpful, and they provided this commentary in the past.
Sure. I think if you're looking for no action tonight, you're going to go back to Utilities Committee.
For what purpose?
Just to rediscuss the topic.
With the DNR feedback?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's just for more due diligence and more information.
For sure. Thank you.
Alderperson Reeves.
My question is for Director Schleicher. If there's any concerns that you have, is it more clear-cut if we simply go ahead and take action on what's in front of us, or do you have any concerns if we just do nothing? But my direction would be any future action would need to, or requests would need to go back to utilities. So I just would like your opinion.
Yes, thank you. I'm comfortable if it goes back to the utility committee. I think right now our position is to recommend denial of the permit. So I think any more discussion or more information from the DNR will be good for us to have and go to the committee with it. So if that's the route, going to the committee and then back to the council, that's what I would support.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or thoughts or? All right. So I guess at this point we can make a motion or not make a motion, or what do you think?
I'll make a motion to postpone and go back to Utilities Committee.
All right. Do we have to set a date or anything?
No, I think just when the applicant wants to re-engage, that's when it would go back to utilities.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, either one.
Second by Reeves. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're moving along. Next item is R156.
I can take this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is, this council previously approved an agreement that was very similar to this, so this relates to the Continental property. So we, to deal with their LSR requirements, they are going to be taking over that stormwater outlot and doing the stormwater management there. There's one change from an agreement that was previously approved by the council. So Continental, as like one of their amenities, is putting in a recreational trail around that basin that's going to connect to the recreational trail that was planned for that development as a whole, the STI development. So the original agreement had that being dedicated back to the city, where the city would maintain that private loop around the basin. I guess it wouldn't be private, it would be public. So may have been some crosswires or miscommunication on my part, but staff would prefer not to have maintenance obligations for that loop around the basin. So this removes that. The loop around the basin will remain a private Continental amenity that they would maintain. They're agreeable to that. So this maintains the main east-west recreational multi-use path, but the private loop around the basement, the loop around the basin would be a private loop, not maintained by the city.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, so to advance it, we'd need a motion, or what are you
Correct.
thinking?
Motion and vote.
Oh, go ahead.
One question I just wanted to be clear about. So most of these, they have to, it has to be functioning for 3 years, right? Does that, anything change in this one?
No, so, here, hang on. Sorry, gotta turn on my mic. So, no, this is different. So we're not actually taking over these ponds. They have to maintain it. So essentially what happens is you have two kinds of stormwater detention areas. You have the public and then the private. So this is gonna say private, even though it's part of an overall system. And they have to go in and have it reviewed once a year to make sure it's standing, unlike the ones that we have reviewed up to 3 years and then we take over. And then in the event that they are failing, we, I believe, can go in and change it. They're, make their changes. Yeah.
Yep, and Dylan's here too, if you want to comment on it. Feel
Dylan
free to
is
come on
here
up.
as well.
Yeah, with the stormwater pond, we will have the maintenance obligations for that long-term and incur the cost. However, if in the future we were not maintaining it to the city's standards that we're agreeing to here, then the city would take over maintenance. However, we would be still charged for that cost per the agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
Motion by Wozniak Scanlon.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Second by Caravello. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, we have 2 other items that we have the potential to go into closed session. How would you like to do this?
Yeah, let's try number 27 first.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea.
So after the last meeting, there was a discussion about amending the agreement with STI to allow that Lot 50, the Continental Lot, early occupancy permits. So in accordance with that direction, we put together an amendment agreement that would allow only the Continental Lot to get occupancy permits if the Greenbrier Drive has the base course down and sewer and water utilities servicing it. They could get occupancy permits for up to 8 of their buildings at that point. They would not be able to get occupancy for the remainder of the 4 multifamily buildings after that until either Greenbrier and US 51 is complete or Greenbrier and County B is complete. In the interim period, they would be directing their tenants to use, if the 51 and Greenbrier is not open, they'll have to use Roby Road, or the Nygaard to Roby Road roundabout until the US 51 is open. No other occupancy permits would be issued to the Phase 2A development. So I guess looking for comments, questions, otherwise we could go into closed session to discuss, and Dylan is here, obviously.
So really the worst case scenario is, for some reason, if the DOT has a delay putting in the roundabout at Rutland Dunn, the traffic would go through, as Rick described, from Nygaard to Roby. Dylan had an updated traffic impact analysis done. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I guess I can first just speak to the overall timing. So if we are able to get this amendment to the development agreement approved, we're hoping to break ground here in a couple weeks in the beginning of November. However, we would not be expecting any residents to begin to move into our first building in October, until October of 2026. So we're not anticipating any residents to be moving in before both of those improvements. The improvements on County B and Greenbrier should be done by June of 2026. The state is expecting to open the roundabout at Greenbrier and US 51 by September of 2026. We're not anticipating anyone to move in until October of 2026. And then we're not anticipating to have those 8 buildings occupied until would be end of August of 2027. So it would have to be, at that point, over a year delay for the DOT or for the work on Greenbrier and County B. But we did put together a traffic study that shows, okay, in the worst case scenario, if the DOT was delayed for a year, if Greenbrier and County B was delayed for a year, what would the traffic impacts be on Roby Road and Nygaard Street? And we found that it was still able to handle that level of traffic at an acceptable level. And so that's why we stopped at this 8 buildings, and we're not requesting occupancy for our full community if neither of those improvements are made to allow those roads to still function at an acceptable level, but then also provide us a path forward to still make our project happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is, we're trying to put together a contingency plan for the worst case scenario to satisfy the lenders, basically, so they have assurances that they start building, people will be able to move in regardless of what happens with the DOT and the county issues, which we think will be resolved, but if they're not, we have a backup plan.
Yeah, that's correct. We're not able to get any financing to move forward if we don't have an ability to get some occupancy permits. However, we understand the traffic concerns from the city's perspective, which is why we're comfortable with a middle ground here that allows us to get occupancy for some of our buildings while not being able to get occupancy for the full site, and thus mitigating potential traffic concerns until those roadway improvements that we expect to be complete are actually complete.
Any questions? Alderperson Hirsch?
Yeah, one, I would like to see actually the amended resolution before I vote on it. And 2, is it possible to get your traffic study that we can actually look at?
I have
This
a
is,
copy.
it's really hard to like come up with a decision when we just, without seeing anything in writing.
So the agreement is in the packet, I believe.
Yeah. Which agreement are you talking about? The developers agreement, or are you talking about
Yes,
the?
the
amendment?
the amendment to the development
Yeah,
agreement.
that's in there. It's underneath the resolution. But the traffic study, we can certainly get to you. We did review it as staff. We're comfortable with it. I think for the most part, everything was a level A. There might have been a level B under one section and maybe a level C under another one. I forget what time of day those were.
Yeah, so the Roby Road US 51 roundabout functions at a level of service A in this scenario, and then the Nygaard and Roby Road intersection just adjacent to that would be a level B/C. It's kind of in between those two.
And I think the TIA assumed full occupancy for, maybe I misread it, but I thought it was assuming all, or 312 units. I don't know if that was right.
Yeah, we did run a scenario just to see what it would look like if it was occupancy for the full 312 units, and then that is where the Roby Road intersection was turned into an A and a B, and then the Nygaard and Roby Road was closer to a C and D as opposed to B, C. So that's where we felt that the 192 units was better, and it kept in that acceptable B to C ratio as opposed to getting into level of service D, where there do start to be more traffic concerns.
This is Brett. I just have something, if I may.
Sure, yep, go ahead, thank you.
And Dylan, the TIA also took into consideration STI as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that accounts for our development, the Stoughton Trailers headquarters building, and the traffic associated with that. And then also that's accounting for the full occupancy of the 51 development on the corner of Greenbrier and 51, because they would also be using that road in that scenario. So it's accounting for it's accounting for all the traffic in that area.
We reviewed that with the team and of course Dylan and his team, and from my standpoint, I have no concerns with this format. As Dylan mentioned, the DOT project, the current schedule for the roundabout at Rutland Duntown Line and 51, or Greenbrier and 51, is slated to be done in September. Of course, there can be some extenuating circumstances that extends that out. But I have no concerns with that potential added traffic going down Nygaard for a very short period of time. We're talking a matter of a couple months.
Yeah, as long as they're not
Worst
building a
case
retaining wall out there.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Bad example, man.
I had to say it.
And one other thing I forgot to mention is that the developer will have to install an emergency access gate on Greenbrier and County B to allow access for emergency vehicles during the, I guess, temporary occupancy or the initial occupancy period.
So we have a resolution and then we also have an amendment for STI?
The resolution approves the amendment.
Okay. So is there any questions about that? We could certainly go into closed session, but I don't know if we need to. I guess it's all up to you guys.
I'll make a motion then
To,
approve occupancy.
okay,
Yeah. Bam.
all right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Reeves. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thanks for being here again. We're gonna get there.
Thank you all for your time tonight.
All right. All right, and then the last item is the appraisal report. This one here can also go into closed session. We did talk about this at finance, so I think at some point we're going to want to go into closed session and kind of get the direction from finance. But basically, what this is when last year, you might recall, in the CIP budget, we put money in there to do a building study for a new public safety building, so that could potentially be police, fire, and EMS. And as part of that process, which Chief Rip and Director Abear kind of have been leading that process, we were asked to identify some potential locations to construct a new building someday, to be determined. The site we're looking at on Williams Drive is the one that kind of rose to the top. We've done heat maps to show where our fire and EMS calls are, where our volunteers come from that respond to them calls. The property's available. There's 2 lots there that equal about 28 acres. It's the last 2 lots that the Moe family owns. They're the ones that we had purchased the lots for the NAFA building and for Grosso's, and then Emmy Roth purchased the rest of their land. So I think they're itching to sell these last 2 lots. We believe that potentially for a new public safety building, it would be an ideal location. Potentially, it could also be considered for Stoughton Utilities building. They're going through their own process for their own site selection. We'll see where they land on that. Even if we don't put a municipal building on the site, we still think that location of that is really advantageous for the city to control because it's right adjacent to our business park. So one of the things we did when we went through the CIP that I mentioned is that we tried to look at some of the things that were in there and really try to scrub the numbers and reduce the amount that was in the CIP so we could potentially add the purchase cost of this land into there. And the purpose of it being on the agenda tonight is for you all to see whether or not you want to pursue it. And if you do, give the city attorney some guidelines and some directions and some ranges of what potentially we would want negotiated and then an offer to purchase. The family that owns the properties, multiple brothers, they have a copy of the appraisal report as well. They've sold the land, so they know what they've been getting for it. We've had decent conversations with them. I told them it would be on the agenda tonight. Once we get to a decision point, I would notify them where we're at. So that's pretty much what I had. I don't know if there's anything you want to add as far as the process.
So obviously we had the option of going to closed session. So we have this appraisal report that sort of gives an initial value of the land. The council feels that it's required to go into closed session to discuss, potential acquisition, what the terms of acquisition might look like. A motion to go into closed session would be appropriate if the council wants to take action or go into closed session tonight or leave it for another meeting, I suppose.
I don't think it'll take very long. At least it did in that finance. What do you guys think? I'll look at you guys.
You're only looking for guidance, so
Yeah.
I don't think it'll take very long.
I just have a question. Seeing how this is potentially going to be used for the public safety building and we're in the process of getting that study done, for me, I guess I would like to see what the study conclusions are before we spend close to $2 million on a piece of land that we don't know if that's really what the study's going to come up with, unless you have privy to the results already that we're not privy to.
I would say we have some preliminary ideas. Maybe Director Abear or Chief Rip, you can give us an update of where we're at on it.
Yeah, I'll just say, and Chief Rip can chime in as well, but the direction of the study at this point is to look at the placement of a public safety building and also potentially leaving space for a utilities building as well at this particular site. And Chief Rip, you can talk about the heat map, the GIS work that was done leading up to this point to indicate that this is the location we want to pursue.
Yeah, so we did do had some work done where we compared where our volunteers live, the ones that we know today in the residential area, compare that their response times, because one thing we've identified recently is getting volunteers to the existing fire and EMS stations from the north and from the west gets to be extremely difficult through Main Street, especially during busy periods. We just can't get people in and out. So using the GIS in turn, very nicely provided by Chris here, he was able to do a whole bunch of work in showing where those response times the response times from the station to areas of the city as we grow to the west and to the north, planning this out. This also puts stations on either side of the railroad tracks looking into the future. Interestingly, the western, they're kind of flopped as far as where they are east and west in the city compared to the side of the tracks, the way the tracks run. But ultimately, this is land that this location really does put this station in a really good spot, especially when you consider it's a quick run up to Highway B, which gets us east and west pretty quickly, especially once Highway 51 and County B has the roundabout put in. So there's we know where some of the study conclusions are going to go. The report, obviously isn't done yet, but this is kind of the one spot we've kind of locked onto as a really good option, especially considering it's pretty level. It puts potential to put a lot of city stuff in one location up that way, as opposed to some of the other locations that really split things up. So.
And Brett, what was the timeline on the report? I know it was updated recently.
Yeah, we're looking at hopefully getting something to you guys in early 2026. So it's nearing the end. The biggest thing was getting that heat map put together. So that was complete in August, and now the team is from FDG is really compiling everything and doing kind of the final interviews with public safety, and then the report will be done probably by the end of the year, and then we'll be scheduling time with the various committees, public safety, and then ultimately council.
And with our conversations with the landowners, we told them we would be here tonight, hoping to get direction. If not, we, continue the conversation. We have to go through the budget process. The budget won't be approved for 2 weeks. And we told them we wouldn't be able to, basically borrow the money until next year anyway. They were good enough to work with us and at least give us first dibs on it. But I think from a timing standpoint, I think we'll have the report probably during the period that we'll be having potential negotiations if that's what you all decide to do here. So I think you'll have more information about what's in the report before you have to make a final decision, if that's a concern.
I mean, that's one of the concerns. The other concern is, where we will get where in our budget we're getting the over $1 million for it. That would not, Utilities already has a site that we had all agreed on prior to this, so I'd be really concerned that I wouldn't loop them into this site. And I don't think it's a wise thing to have all our public safety and utilities all in one plot of land. It seems like potential for disaster at some point. You're not building in any resiliency, so that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, if it turns out where it's just a public safety building, or maybe not even that, maybe we just expand the business park. Right now we have one piece of land that's under contract, the 2 acres with Grosso, and that only leaves us 4.5 acres in the business park. So if somebody came to us tomorrow and said, hey, I need 20 acres and I can get 150 jobs to Stoughton, we don't have a place to put them. So I think strategically, regardless if we put a municipal building there or not, I think this land would be important to us. Alderperson Butler.
I feel like in the interest of continuing the conversation, we should go into closed session.
Okay. Do you want to read the language?
I have the language up right now.
All right.
Imagine that. The council may meet in closed session per state statute 19.85 sub 1 sub E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The Common Council may reconvene in an open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Schumacher. Candy, when you're ready, we can do a roll call vote. Thank you.
I'm ready. Caravello.
Aye.
Wozniak Scanlon.
Aye.
Sherlucky.
Aye.
Hirsch.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Tillison.
Aye.
Reeves.
Aye.
Butler.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Know.
Aye.
Abel.
Aye.
Nino.
Aye.
It's 12 alders in favor.